What is going on, guys? Welcome to Press X Podcast episode. What is this? 73. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for waiting patiently, as always, while the credits roll. Yeah, you hear mouse clicks. That's usually because I'm in the process of secretly muting the music and turning my mic on, and you can't see me yet. So thank you all for being here with me and taking time to hang out. We definitely have some topics to go over here today. I reserved some topics that happened throughout the week so we could save them for the podcast, so you don't have to worry. We're not going to be going over, this podcast is not just going to be one giant rehash. So we do have some new topics to talk about, some topics that you guys have been asking me to cover. You like the Alice Cooper shirt? Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm glad I'm got some Alice Cooper fans here. Appreciate that. We have Whiskey Gaming. You're saying driving back from Florida, hungover, need the show to keep me going, can't message a lot. So PlayStation rules, Xbox sucks. I think that covers everything, right? All in good fun, guys. Yeah, no worries, dude. We know you're just messing around, but thank you for the donation, Whiskey Gaming. And yeah, sounds like you had a good time. So, all right. So, yeah, before we dive into any topics, there is actually something I'm going to have to throw in here that it came up this morning. We'll have to talk about. There's actually two things I'm going to be throwing into this podcast that I didn't originally have. So we're going to have to talk about Death Stranding 2. Apparently, it's a thing that's in negotiations right now, according to Norman Reedus. We're going to talk about that. He's saying MBG growing that castaway beard. Yeah, I'm going to be trimming a little bit soon. I don't like to grow my beard out too much because it doesn't, I saw people like, oh, dude, grow that Kratos beard. I can't do that. My beard grows in okay, but once it starts getting to this length, it starts to get like that fuzzy look. It just doesn't come in thick enough, in my opinion. I can't get that Kratos look where it's just like a, actually good looking. So I'll probably I'll probably have to trim soon. So sorry, give me 1 second here, guys. I want to. So I see some people mentioning that apparently Hassan tweeted today. Not to, I'm just seeing what the chat's telling me now. I actually wasn't aware of this. So I'll just read his tweet really quick. He said 16 hours ago, I'm definitely late to this tweet. He says, we are working on a proper reveal for Abandoned via the real-time experience app. I ask everyone to wait patiently for this, wishing everyone a nice Sunday. So, okay. He's got 485 responses, which is a lot. That's a lot of people responding, and I don't know, man. They're not good. They're not good responses. So I appreciate Hassan giving us the little update, but I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. I have no idea if this is even a real thing by the end of this, but hey, dude. MBG has checked out of the blue box stuff. I mean, yeah, dude, I have to. Like, what do I do at this point? Is it like, let's keep talking about blue box? I can't do it. I can't do it, man. It was a fun ride, and I don't know if, according to Hassan's tweet, it's not over. So we'll see what happens, but we have some other topics we are going to have to discuss today. So if you could do me a favor, for those who are here right now and for those who will be watching after the fact, please do me a favor, hit the like button to help the podcast out and show it your support. Really appreciate that. And yeah, so I'm going to throw in two topics here. You are going to have to bear with me for just a moment. Before I do that, actually, I got to give my members shout out. But there's two off the cuff topics that we want to discuss, and I know you guys are going to want me to talk about it. I'll probably have to put them in a separate video. But before I do that, big shout out to my Play Has No Limits Plus tier. If you want to become a member, help support what I do here directly, I would really appreciate that. And so we have the highest tier, people going above and beyond to help support the channel. Big shout out to Junior Jackson, Samuel Payne, Josh Z, Agile Ice 24, KB, Anthony Ramos, Skin Tight Salmon, PlayStation Pete, Chlorian Kaploni S, and Ray Lopez. Thank you guys so much. Then we have the Play Has No Limits tier. So big shout out to Adrian D, AWS Asher, Zanakand Blitzer, Ivano Kachofel, Fake Man Bear Pig, Avengers Endgame, Space Gambler Jr., iSiler18, Lion Sin and Pride Lord Escanor, AJ Saeed, Rune Gasoden, JDTV, Quantum Stardust, Sir Speaks a Lot, Ashorty Faye, Ryan Butcher, Big Norman 0518, Whiskey Gaming, Shaky Shako, Tyson Webb 509, Black Manta 1989, Sane JT, Brandon Chad Perez, Adrian Lupton, and Black Waifus. Thank you guys so much. That's a long list and got a lot of incredible support here. So I just really want to thank you guys for that. I really do appreciate it. With that being said, though, the first topic I want to discuss, probably the freshest topic, is the Sony's decision. Guys. Sony's decision to apparently increase the heat, the temperature of the PlayStation 5 by like 3 degrees. What is going on, dude? It's over. It's over, people. Freak out. Be concerned, be scared, be mad, be upset because Sony did the unthinkable right now. Kidding, of course. RU46 and 2 Ray are saying Gamescom was not the Kojima directed trailer for Death Stranding. Yeah, dude, we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that later on. I am just mesmerized by how much Hideo Kojima is talking about his edited Death Stranding trailer. What's really interesting is apparently, you know, I'm assuming he's telling the truth. I don't see why he would lie. I don't think he would lie. He apparently has not edited a trailer for Death Stranding since 2019. So that means the Death Stranding teaser trailer we got that was a big nod to Metal Gear Solid was actually not edited by him, which is fascinating to me because I think everybody was under the impression that it was. So we'll talk about that. Let me see. Michael Stanbrook, you're saying, hey, MBG, I hope you're well. Just wanted to say I really enjoy your videos and podcasts. You are my go-to channel for everything PlayStation. Thank you so much, Michael. I really do appreciate the support, buddy. Keep doing my best here. You know, you guys, again, your support is what keeps this channel going and keeps it alive and hopefully thriving. So, yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. Thank you so much, buddy. So let me go to my Twitter here so we can read this article. So there was a lot of clickbait articles made up with this topic, and it's funny to me because, you know, some people are going to be like, oh, here we go, MBG is going to have to damage control. I mean, look, man, if it's damage control to you, I can't say anything about that. We're just going to talk about some basic stuff that Sony did that I don't know why. I guess things are just this dry and this bleak in terms of like gaming news that we need to make a big deal out of something that's really not a big deal. And I'm not just saying that. Like I'm not just saying it's not a big deal. Like it literally doesn't matter. It literally doesn't. And if it does, we're not going to know yet. But it's unlikely that it's going to matter at all. Kendall Fire 2022 or 22. Sorry, I always do that with your name. Saying Kanye dropped Donda before Sony held a conference. Well, you know, one of them was going to have to go first. Man. But, you know, this whole thing with the heatsink inside of the PlayStation 5, for those who have been following, apparently there are some changes that Sony made. They let us know that they were going to be doing this. Like, this isn't anything new. We knew this was a thing. And now you're seeing all these headlines coming out saying the PS5 is worse. It's worse now, guys. So the first headline I read was actually from PlayStation Universe, which it's surprising that they would go with a title like this because I don't know, like it just sounds pretty terrible. They say a new PS5 model is lighter due to smaller, worse heatsink and runs hotter. And it's like, I mean, yeah, I guess factually speaking, nothing you're saying there is technically untrue, but it's like, you know, if a normal person reads that headline, you're like, oh, that sounds pretty bad. And like you look into it and you're like, oh, it's really not a big deal at all. So let me I came across another article that I want to shout out here because I appreciate the fact that they're not clickbaiting, man. Like honestly, I'm tired of the clickbait nonsense. Not just within games media, but on YouTube. It's absolutely ridiculous and it's annoying. Okay? It's annoying because no one likes clickbait. And yet people just continue to do it to no end. And so this article comes from Engadget Gaming, and it simply says Sony's revised PS5 model has a smaller, lighter heatsink. Okay, and if you actually read the way this article is worded, it's not. It's just giving you. Look, I'm just gonna read it. So Sony recently introduced an oddly lighter version of the PlayStation 5, and it's now clear just why the console is that much easier to carry. YouTube creator Austin Evans has posted a teardown that shows the revised PS5 digital edition. That is the model, obviously, without the disc, and it's using a smaller, likely lower cost heatsink. While this shaves off a whopping 0.66 pounds off the weight, it also raises the overall temperature by a few degrees. Not necessarily a major issue, but worth noting if you either upgrade your SSD or stuff in your system, like if you're putting your system in a crowded media cabinet. Obviously, heating is something you always have to worry about. But the idea that temperature being raised by a few degrees, yeah, I don't think that's going to make any difference. But it goes on to say there are subtler changes as well, including an easier to use stand screw and tweaked connections to the Wi-Fi chip. Oh, that screw, man. Dude, some Xbox fans are going to be really happy to know that, Sony heard your complaints and they now gave you an easier way to screw the stand on your PlayStation 5. So for anybody who is maybe having problems with that, because apparently that's a big deal. It's crazy that you have to use a screwdriver to screw in the stand on your PS5. I know that's mind-blowing to some people, but now you no longer need an actual screwdriver. So there you go. Shaky Shako, you're saying, MBG, which meat is the best on a sandwich? Ham or turkey or chicken or beef or duck or crocodile on a sandwich? Also, your webcam footage looks smooth. Well, thank you so much. I do have it at 60 FPS. For me, I'm going to go with beef personally, but I mean, I would say just go with whatever floats your boat, man. I would go with beef. Crocodile sounds pretty good though. I'm just kidding. I never had crocodile. I've never, heard of that on a sandwich. Is that a thing? I don't know. I never had it. So I would go with beef. Space D, you're saying, sounds like Sony is back to the PlayStation 3 ways downgrade. So downgrade. Yeah, that's the thing here about this is like, is it a downgrade though? I mean, yeah, I guess it is, but apparently one of the reasons that people are speculating that Sony decided to do this is because apparently copper is becoming more difficult to come by. I don't know if it's more expensive or it's actually just in general, it's just more difficult for Sony to get copper, and the older heatsink was mostly copper, so they decided to alter that. And some people are saying this actually could be not just a way to cut costs for Sony, but apparently one of the things this should help with, hopefully, is making it a little bit easier to produce the consoles in bulk in general. I don't know if there's much truth to that. I would have to do more research. That's what some people are speculating. It would make sense, though, if that is the case to an extent. But let's not, mince words here. This is a cost-cutting. You're saying copper's getting more expensive these days. Yeah, this is a cost-cutting, choice here that Sony already decided. And what blows my mind with people talking about this and getting all upset about it is it's like, look, people are like, dude, you need to be critical of Sony, man. You're not critical enough. And it's like, well, like, what does that mean? Like, do you want me to acknowledge that Sony is cutting costs, that Sony wants to have a lesser heatsink in order to do so, a lesser heatsink that can still get the job done and help them cut costs? You want me to acknowledge that? People are like, no, I want you to acknowledge that it's worse. I want you to acknowledge that Sony is being cheap and that they should reduce the price. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, you have got to be kidding me. I guarantee you I guarantee you that anybody who is on here reading the headlines, talking about Sony doing this and Sony doing that with the PS5, do you think that they would ever notice a difference? If you gave them 2 PlayStation 5s to use, right? And one is the newer model that runs a couple degrees hotter than the other, do you think they would be able to tell a difference at all? Do you think that Sony would make this decision at the risk of, well, our console might overheat? It might not play games. Exactly, Devil Shooter. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's ridiculous, guys. Like, it's difficult for me to even spend time talking about this because, look, I'm not an engineer, and I don't want to pretend like I know the ins and outs. In fact, the only question that I have, I see somebody asking me my thoughts on the new Saints Row reboot. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, so stay tuned. But the only real question I have when it comes to this as a gamer, as a consumer, even though I already have a PS5, but in the future, if I get another one and I end up getting this newer model or the revised model. No, I see what you're saying, AAG. You're saying more heat equals more potential problems. I understand that, but we're talking about a couple of degrees here. And I guess, like, you know, would Sony risk upping the temperature by a couple of degrees and not QA test it and not, you know, make sure that it's not going to have a negative impact? And that's the whole thing I'm trying to focus on here. It's clear that this is not going to have any negative impact. If it did, or if it would, Sony wouldn't do it. Because do you know what's even worse than being a little bit cheaper and wanting to cut some costs? Is doing that knowing you're potentially going to create an even bigger problem that will end up being really expensive to fix in the long run. And then before you know it, just because you wanted to, you know, cut costs and save a little bit of money, you're paying way more money than you ever thought you would to solve a problem that didn't need to be there. I'm really sounding like a Sony cheerleader. I don't get it, dude. Like, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, what, Jay, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? That's, I at this point, it's like, do you want me to give my honest thoughts, or do you want me to just say, yeah, dude, Sony sucks. I can't believe they're doing this. Sony is just the worst. Like, people are like, oh, you're shilling. Like, I'm not shilling. I don't care how much money Sony's going to save from this. That doesn't affect me. The only thing I care about, because I'll tell you right now, if Sony came out and said, this is what we're doing with the PS5, my only questions would be, okay, is there going to be any negative impact? Am I going to have trouble playing games? Is my console going to overheat? How, you know, is this going to affect the longevity of my console? These are the questions I have. When it comes to how it's going to play games, whether it's going to overheat, come on. These are not going to be problems. There's no way. There's no way Sony would be like, yeah, we're just going to up the temperature by a couple degrees. And, you know, it may just cause consoles to overheat. It may be the 360 all over again, but who cares? They're not going to do that. If anything, it's kind of become clear that maybe Sony over-engineered the PlayStation 5 initially. It seems that Sony was very much concerned about keeping the heat under control, because them overclocking the GPU as insanely high as they did, it produces an insane amount of heat, and it's just never really been done before in a console. Clearly, they were very, very concerned about keeping the heat under control and keeping the console quiet. So I think it just makes way more sense to think maybe they over-engineered it, and it turns out that you actually have a little bit more wiggle room with the heat disposition and you know, the way you can, you know, keep it under control than they originally made it sound. Because here's the best part about this, guys. I haven't even gotten to the best part. For all these, I've been seeing a lot of Xbox dudes coming to me and they're like, just admit it, MBG. PlayStation sucks. They want to sell you a worse product at the same price. I'm like, you guys do realize the Xbox Series X runs hotter than the PS5, right? Like, you do realize this, even with this increase by a couple of degrees. Like, do you guys realize this? And people are like, well, if this was Xbox, no, it's not a matter if this was Xbox. The fact of the matter is the Xbox Series X runs hotter. Who cares? It runs just fine. Do you see? So is it still a problem? Is it still a problem? It's unbelievable, man. Josh Z, you're saying, speaking of Gamescom, am I the only one who was speechless in the best way after the Dukev, I don't know how you pronounce it. I guess it's Dukev trailer. That was the Energizer Bunny of trailers, lol. But I'm 100% interested. Oh, dude, 100%, man. That was one of the craziest things that showed up at Gamescom. I think everybody was like, yo, what is this game? Parts of it just seem kind of ridiculous, but there's just something captivating about that trailer that I don't know how you could see a trailer like that and not at least be a little bit interested in the game that's on offer. So I agree with you 100%, Josh. Space D, you're saying problem is Sony isn't telling you anything. But that's the thing here, Space D. I understand what you're getting at, but I'm going to ask you this right now. Again, if Sony made this decision to cut some costs and they realize that it's not going to make any difference on the user end. That's what I need to emphasize. It's not going to make a difference on the user end experience. It's not going to cause overheating. It's not going to cause problems with running games. Pretty much, it's not going to do anything. The only thing it's going to do is if you happen to be one of these people that measures the temperature of your console, which no one does, just need to put that out there. Literally nobody does this. But if you are one of those less than 1% people who feel the need to constantly measure the temperature of your console, you might find it's running 3 degrees hotter. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, why would Sony want to tell me that? Like, we just want to let you know your console's going to run 3 degrees hotter. Like, I literally wouldn't, I'd be like, okay. See, like, if Sony were to say that, at that point, people are just going to assume, well, they're telling me this because it's a bad thing, right? Like, they need to warn me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's true. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. Obviously, people were going to find this out, but they literally told us they were doing this. They literally told us that they were going to be cutting the cost of certain components. And if you expect me, as somebody who owns a PlayStation 5, and will probably buy another one in the future at some point, to be upset that the console's going to run like 3 degrees hotter, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just don't know what to tell you. I do not care. The only thing I care about is, it's simple. Is this going to have a negative impact? Is it going to affect my games? Is my console going to overheat? Is it going to reduce the longevity of my console? And if the answer to all of those questions is no. If that's the answer to all those questions, then I literally do not care whatsoever. In fact, I only care because I'm seeing these headlines pop up, making it seem like I have to care. And when I read into it, I'm like, okay, so it's like, you know, a little bit lighter. It's got an easier, more user-friendly screw for the base, and they cut down the heatsink a little bit, so it's 3 degrees hotter. Okay, like, all right. It's like, but MBG, it's worse. I'm like, how so? It's a little bit hotter. Okay, what does that mean? It's hotter. It's like, okay, I don't, like, is it gonna cause me any problems? And then, you know what's great is people come out here and they're like, but it might, dude. You never know. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, the same can be said for literally any piece of technology that comes out for the first time. Who knows? It's funny to me because people act like Sony literally doesn't QA this stuff, man. Like, they're just haphazardly like, okay, let's just do this and let's see what happens. Who knows? It could be a catastrophe. I understand that we've seen stuff like that happen before, but the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death, that was like a unique situation, and we have not seen anything like that since, and I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. So I'm not worried about it, man. Are you 46 N2 Ray? You're saying the Red Ring of Death because Microsoft caused Microsoft to lose money. The only system to lose that much money. One mid-grade E3 for Xbox fans get all crazy. Oh, that's what I'm saying, dude. Is like, I just don't get what people want me to do. Like, do they want me to come out here and be like, uh-oh, guys, be scared because if you buy this new PS5 model, just keep in mind, you might be buying a 360 again, like an original model 360. You might be in store for that situation. Like, I don't understand. Like, do people want me to be mad because Sony as a business is trying to cut costs and make a profit? You want me to be mad at that? Like, I don't care unless it's negatively affecting me. If it's not negatively affecting me, do what you need to do. You're a business, operate the way you need to operate, man, because I would do the same exact thing. If it's going to negatively affect me, then don't do it. It's that simple. If I wouldn't know any different and everything proceeds smoothly, right? Who cares? But I need to make my clickbait article. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. And the clickbait videos as well. You know what? That's the funny thing to me is people think I'm such a shill and whatnot, and like, oh, I'm just Sony Defender #1 and I'm making all my money doing that. You do realize I would literally get more views and I would literally make more money if I made a video being like, the PS5 is worse now. Sony makes the PS5 worse. Just these clickbait bullshit headlines. I would literally get more traffic doing that. And I'm not, because it's dumb. It's dumb. You know, you know what I saw today? Apparently on Reddit, somebody posted, and I gotta look into this, and I'm wondering if there's gonna be articles written up about this, maybe to, I would love to see what caused this. But did you guys see that there was something floating around on Reddit? This dude's Xbox Series X literally exploded. He said it almost like exploded on their cat and started a fire, and he showed a picture of his Xbox Series X, and it literally looks like a bomb went off inside of it. It was insane. And I don't know if that was, it seemed kind of ridiculous. I'm like, are you sure you didn't do something to this console? Because there's no way. Don't worry. I'll get to your super chats, guys. Don't worry. Maxwell, you're saying they did over-engineer the PS5, but this opens the opportunity to actually do a PS5 Slim and a Pro with a complete different design and everything. Yeah, man, I mean, I don't doubt that we're going to get that. I don't doubt that. I think we're obviously going to get a Slim at some point, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a Pro. Chris B, you're saying they made it so you didn't need a screwdriver. Shouldn't they charge more? People are just looking for stupid stuff. It's true, man. Like, I'm not trying to come off as like a defender here, but it's just, I cover PlayStation here, and specifically I focus on the PS5 mainly at this point. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, I literally, when I first saw the headlines, I'm like, uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. And then I read into it and I'm like, what? I'm like, are they serious right now? And I don't really think it's that serious, Look, if I'm not saying you should change your position on how you feel about it. Like, if you're somebody where you're like, I don't like that Sony did this, I'm not saying you should change your position. The only thing I'm going to say is please don't make a big deal out of it. I won't make a big deal out of it. You shouldn't make a big deal out of it because it's not a big deal. It's really not. I don't think we shouldn't be asking any questions. In fact, for anybody who is an engineer, I'm not an engineer. I'm not 100% familiar with how all of the ins and outs of this stuff works. The only question I would have is, does this impact the PlayStation 5 potentially running 3 degrees hotter consistently? Does this have any long-term impact negatively? Could it have any long-term negative impact? Because I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell everybody here listening to this, if you have a PS5, do yourself a favor if you haven't done it yet. If you haven't done it yet, take the white plates or the face plates off of your PS5, clean out the dust collectors, and just dust it out. Because I'll tell you right now, putting the heat aside, if there's anything you should be worried about, potentially causing you some issues in the long run with your PS5, it's that right there. Because I'll tell you, I had my PS5 for less than a year, and I recently took my plates off, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be that serious. Maybe just a little dust, just, give it a quick wipe. And I was shocked. I was like, there's a lot of dust in here, dude. And the dust collectors actually work really well. There was a huge chunk, man, that I had to pull out. And I'm like, yeah, that can't be good, but that's normal. That's normal. That's with all consoles, with any electronic, that has airflow. So, my recommendation is instead of worrying about the PlayStation 5 running 3 degrees hotter if you happen to get the new model, what you should worry about is making sure you maintain your console properly, take care of it properly, dust it out. Sony literally put dust catchers in this console for that reason. And yeah, I got to tell you too. So here's why you want to pay attention to the dust. I noticed before I cleaned my PS5 out for the first time, I was playing some games just like I normally do on my PS5 every night. And sometimes I switch from game to game and I'm playing and I'm looking at my screen and there's like this flicker. There's like this, and it's a graphical glitch with games that's happening. And I was like, this is weird. Why is this doing this? So I switched to a different game to see if it would do the same thing. And it did. And then I just decided I'm going to go to the main menu and see what happens. Sorry, Black Waifus. I'm going to get to your super chat. I apologize. I'll continue my story. I do got to get to these super chats. Black Waifus, you're saying, honestly, the PS5 bashing is a direct result of people trying to cover Microsoft from the bad Halo news. Yeah, dude, Black Waifus, we're going to talk about Halo a little bit later because we have some stuff to talk about there. This is what I'm saying. Like, you're not wrong, dude. People out here freaking out being like, what? My PS5's going to run 3 degrees hotter? Sony's being cheap and wants to make more money and profit? This is absurd. This is absurd, I tell you. Meanwhile, over with Halo, it's like there's a whole civil war going on because of all the weird stuff that's going on with that game. So we'll talk about that. Space D, you're saying nobody. PlayStation fans, they should charge you more. Dude, no one is saying that, bro. You're saying, see heat issue firsthand. No, dude, Space D, you are twisting my words, bro, and you know it. You know you're twisting it right now. Look, I was playing my PS5, and I'm having these graphical glitches. They're not severe, but I noticed, like, it was happening consistently. I'm playing some Call of Duty, playing some Ghost of Tsushima, playing some Aliens Fire Team and whatnot, playing some Dead by Daylight. I'm just playing all these different games. I'm like, why is it doing this? So I went to the main menu and I just sat there just to see if it would do it. Because I was like, is it my HDMI? And it wouldn't. There was no flickering, no nothing. So I went back into the game. And when I went into the game, it did it. Kept switching games, wouldn't stop. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to turn my PlayStation off, turn it back on. And it stopped for a little bit. But then, like, the longer I played, it started doing it again. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And I'm getting a little bit concerned. I'm like, uh-oh. And so I was like looking into it and I totally forgot. I was like, wait a second. Sony literally put dust catchers into this console. I'm like, maybe I need to not open it up, but take the plates off and check what's going on. And lo and behold, I'm looking at it and it's like dust central up in there, man. And I'm like, could this be the reason why that was happening? And I cleaned it out. It didn't take long, took less than 5 minutes. There was way more dust collected than I had anticipated. And since I did that, no issues. It's been perfectly fine. So, this is where I'm saying it's like, I don't think people should be too worried. Like, again, if there's anybody in the chat right now that is well-versed on, engineering and how this stuff works. You're saying, MBG, the masses won't clean the dust out, though. Yeah, I agree. And that could be a problem. And maybe that's where Sony should literally, like that's the thing, man. It's like, I don't know if that's just me. Like, if I'm just unlucky, like maybe my console's just particularly dusty. Like, I just have a lot of dust accumulation. I don't know. But, maybe Sony, if more people, because that flickering issue, it may not have been that, but I did notice that after I cleaned it out, it stopped. So I'm like, is this something that pretty much everybody's going to have to do? The good news is, hopefully people will understand that just with anything you own, it needs to be maintained. And I can't see how many people, would buy a PS5 and not want to clean it off. I'm not saying clean it out, but I just think, look, like, I've never owned a console ever where I haven't regularly dusted it. I feel like it's like a necessary thing to do. And I know that not everybody does that, but it's like, you know, when you hear people, it's like my PlayStation broke or my Xbox broke, and then they like show it to you, and it's literally like it's gray. It's just completely gray because they just never want, like they just didn't take care of it. It's like, dude, like just get a freaking, you know, just get a duster or something, man. Get a vacuum. Just do something. You know what I mean? Don't just let it sit there. I remember, you know, back in the 360 days, like, you know, in the PS3 days, I had friends that would like have issues, and I'd be like, "Hey, dude, did you ever dust out your console?" Like, nah, man, I never did. And I'm like, how many years have you had this thing? They're like, I had it for like 3 or 4 years. I'm like, and you never once dusted it, not once. They're like, no, and I'm like, that's probably why you're having some issues. Like, you got to do something, you know, get some canned air, you know, something, man. So anyway, you know, look, I'm not. It's clear that Sony is doing this to cut costs and find some workarounds to do that. But my whole thing is, if you're somebody who feels negatively about this, my recommendation to you is I wouldn't remember. I read iSiler's saying, remember roaches and PS4s? Oh, yeah, dude. Oh my God. How does that even happen? Like, how do you get roaches inside of your PlayStation 4? But anyway, my recommendation is, if you are somebody who's concerned about this, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because it's extremely unlikely that Sony would have made these decisions if they believed that there was any chance it could cause some overheating issues. Again, the only question I would have, and if there's anybody in the chat that may know, the PlayStation 5 running consistently 3 degrees hotter, I would like to know, could that have any negative impact in the long run? Like a 3 degrees difference? Like, could that reduce the lifespan of your console? I feel like I'm not an engineer and I don't know. That's why I'm asking. But I feel like if I had to take a guess, I'm going to say no, it probably wouldn't. I think that it's more of, if anything's going to have, if anything's going to cause issues, as I said, with your console in the long run and reduce its potential lifespan, I really do believe it would be probably neglect and not taking care of it properly. That would be my guess. But you said you took your plates off after 6 months, barely any dust there at all? Huh. Well, I wonder if maybe I need to keep my PS5 better ventilated, potentially. Saying, no, it just cuts costs. It's also to improve production time to increase numbers. MBG, all it means is you need to be more careful and maintain the console more. You're saying the less heat, the better. Yeah. Well, this is where I'm saying, if people are so concerned about the PS5 and, running, let me see I don't know if I can find I want to get the exact numbers here, if you guys can give me just a second, because I'm really curious. I'm looking to see what exactly, maybe somebody can let me know in the chat. What are the exact numbers that these consoles run at? Because I know the Xbox Series X it runs hotter. I'm just trying to figure out how much hotter. Because my whole thing is if you're concerned about the PS5's temperature being 3 degrees higher, but it's still less than the Series X, then what does that mean for the Series X? You know what I mean? Wouldn't that technically be bad news for the Series X then? Saying you have a digital PS5 could be the reason for less dust. Yeah, I guess that's possible. Some people are saying I should make a tutorial video, an instructional video on how to dust off your PS5 or how to take the plates off. Yeah, maybe I could do that. Maybe that would be a good idea. Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. So this person says, he's an IT tech. He says your PS5 will run hotter for sure, and its lifespan will be reduced, guaranteed 100%. Copper heat sinks have always been a lot more expensive than aluminum ones, but are also way more efficient. I mean, I guess I'll have to take their word for it. I guess my question at that point is then, what is the expected lifespan for the PlayStation 5 before and after? So like I have a launch model, so I have the copper heatsink. What is the lifespan expectancy for my PS5 versus the new PS5? Is it like a year difference? Is it like a 2 year difference? Like, is my console expected to crap out at the 5 or 6 year mark? Is it expected to crap out maybe at the 10, 11 year mark? Um, and if so, what's the difference? These are the questions. See, these are the questions that I feel like if you're gonna ask any, these are the ones you want to ask. But I don't know, man. Even then, like if I'm buying a PS5, I'm not really, you don't want to believe like, oh, my console could break in 5 years. But come on, man. Like this is just the way things are today. And I hate to have to be the bearer of bad news. And I'm not saying we should just accept it, but what do we like? It's just the way it is, man. Like these companies, this is what they do. Smartphones, appliances these days, anything. It's made cheaper and it's not built to last. It's just not. You buy, if you have like stuff that was built like 20, 30 years ago, that stuff's probably going to last you God knows how long, right? That like some of this stuff back then was built to last a lifetime. That's not how things, that's not how things work these days. And I know that sucks, but I don't know, man. There's probably going to be people literally 15 years from now who still have working PS5s, and they'll probably be this new model. You know what I mean? So I also think it's just a matter of use. You know what I mean? Like, how much do you use it? Like, dude, I use my PS5 every single day. Every single day this thing is on. I'm not expecting this thing to last a decade. It would shock me if it did. You know what I mean? Because it's just like anything else. I don't know how many things I buy. I mean, of course, there's like expensive things you buy. Like if you're talking about in thousands and thousands of dollars, yeah, you expect it to last. But I don't know, man. It's like when you buy a phone. Like are you going to be using the same phone for the next 10 years? Pretty much nobody is, and everybody's just kind of universally accepted that fact. Like there might be that like outlier, like that one person where it's like I'm still using my phone that I got 10 years ago. Like, yeah, but no one else is. And I'm just saying, like, these companies, the people, the business executives that run these companies, they know that this is how people operate. And people have, the masses have said this is okay. That's the point. So it's like, yeah, you get these little circles on the internet where it's like, oh, this sucks. But it's like, dude, no one's going to care. You think anybody's going to be like, you know what? I'm not buying your PS5, Sony, because you decided to not stick with the copper heatsink. No one's going to do that. Literally, no one's going to do that. You're going to buy your PS5. You're going to be a little bit upset potentially that, oh, well, they did this. It cut costs. It's like, oh, it sucks. And then you're going to go play your games. That's what's going to happen. And Sony knows it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And we also know that this is being made a big deal of right now because there's absolute silence from Sony. There's nothing going on. There's nothing exciting happening. And this is the only thing there is to talk about. So, iSiler18, you're saying by the time my PS5 croaks, it'll be traded in for a slimmer Pro, something I've done since the 360 days personally. Here we go. There we go, dude. I will put it out here and say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the only people who care about this, okay, the only people who care about this are the people who are going to be first in line to buy the slim PS5 or the PS5 Pro or the PlayStation 6. So it's not going to matter to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure that those, like the people who care about this right now, they're also going to be the ones first in line to buy this stuff. Magnum Visuals, you're saying my dad used to say, if it's heavy, it's a good product. Yeah, I guess that could be some. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't really argue with that, Zenarkand Blitzer, you're saying MBG, do you keep your PS5 in a closed cabinet or an open cabinet? If closed, could be why it's dusty. Also, do you have a cat? I just leave mine on the table. Dude, I have 2 cats, and it's in an open space. It's in an entertainment center where the front of it is open so the air can flow out. So it's not completely enclosed, but it definitely has, some, it's not fully open is what I'm trying to say. And I do have 2 cats. So Yeah, that could probably. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm starting to wonder, was that actually dust? Maybe it wasn't dust. I think it may have been cat hair. My one cat has gray fur, so um yeah, maybe I, I was mistaken. Um but yeah, so I'm not gonna spend. I'm gonna move on from this topic because it is what it is. Like, I'm not trying to come off as like, hey, be happy because Sony makes more money. Like, you don't. This isn't about us caring about whether Sony's making more money or not. It's about, like, I saw somebody say like, oh, the PS5 is a disaster, and I'm like, look, man, like, I just. I don't know what to say anymore to people who don't like the PlayStation 5 or have problems with the PlayStation 5. You know what I mean? I just say this because I bought a PS5. I've been playing it since launch, and I've been loving it, man. Like, it's honestly been great, and I haven't had any issues with it other than that issue I mentioned earlier. And as of right now, it seemed like just a one-time thing, and it actually, now I'm thinking about it, it could have been because of an accumulation of cat hair inside of my PS5. But I enjoy it every day, man. And you know, I if I didn't have a PS5 right now and I was still planning on buying one, I wouldn't stress over this. That's all I'm trying to communicate to people. If you want to basically turn to Sony and be like, man, come on, Sony, you should have just kept it the way it was. I get that. Like, I get that, right? I'm not trying to say that everything is perfect, but in general, I wouldn't let this stop you from buying a PS5 if you're trying to get one. I think if you buy a PS5 and you get this new model, I think it's going to be fine. I think you're gonna have a good time, and yeah, that's what I think. You're saying it just looks shady. Well, yeah, I get. Well, that's. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, when it comes to Sony, I don't think Sony is that shady. They are a little bit shady for sure. Every corporation is, but with Sony these days, I feel like you know what to expect from them, in a good and a bad way. So it's like, Sony is aware that if you want to sell me a AAA game at $70, you're going to have to make damn sure that that's a good game. And we'll actually talk more about that with Horizon and the fact that it was delayed, with just, no questions asked. It's delayed, right? But I feel like with Sony, dude, like, Sony's making it clear that they're doing everything they're doing to be as profitable as they can be. And they're not hiding that. And they, this is why they literally let their investors know, like, we're going to be looking into cutting the cost of the manufacturing for the PlayStation 5. And now we know how they managed to do that. And yeah, it's like, well, is this going to reduce the lifespan of my console? Yeah, it might, potentially, but it's like, is Sony's going to ask you a simple question. Sony's going to ask you a simple question. Is that going to stop you from buying one? And 99% of people are going to say no. And then that's why Sony's going to be like, then that's why we did it. And again, I don't like to have to be the one to say this to people, but I have to, because people continue to try to push against, I don't want to say the flow, but in a way that's kind of what it is. It's just pushing against the reality of the situation, and honestly, the reality of human nature, where Sony is an entity run by people who are hired to extract as much money out of people as possible. Therefore, they're going to make decisions that allow them to do that. And every corporation is going to see what can they get away with. They're going to do it. And it's like I say, well, people be like, well, that's a bad look for Sony when their competition seems like they have the best value in gaming. It's like, it's not all peaches and cream, people. It's just like we talked about with Halo, the whole situation going on with Halo. They have to cut co-op campaign and major features at the last minute. Their games are suffering delays, and like, it's not perfect over there. It's not. And it's because nothing will ever be perfect. Just saying, it's just the reality, people. The perfect console will never exist. The perfect game will never exist. The perfect anything will never exist. Does that mean we should just blindly accept imperfections, and if it's unfair, just say, okay, no big deal? No. But in this case, it's like, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do? I'm going to ask you the one question that matters, and the one question that Sony will ask anybody. Is this going to stop you from buying a PS5? And if you say yes, I'm not kidding. You're literally in the less than 1% bracket. And that's why this is happening. That's why it will continue to happen. That's why at some point Microsoft may end up doing the same thing if they can. All right, like it's not it's not difficult to understand why things like this happen and why they happen the way they do. And I just feel like when you see people freak out about it, it just goes to show like you just don't understand clearly. Like you could be upset about it, and I think that's totally fair. Where it's like that person said, like, oh, it's just shady. It's like, yeah, dude, it is because it's just they want more money. They want to make more profit. And no one wants to hear that. No one wants a corporation to just straight up tell them like, yeah, we just want more money. We just want more of it. You know, we want to be profitable. Nobody wants to hear that, but sometimes you got to kind of acknowledge that reality and understand that that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, you know? It's a balancing act, ultimately. It's a balancing act. Maxwell, you're saying everybody focusing on a little heat sink and forget that the real reason is why the PS5 outperforms Xbox with less heat is because of liquid metal. Yeah, I don't know, man. The whole PS5 versus Xbox Series X and performance and whatnot, I don't know. I feel like that's not really a thing anymore. I feel like that, like, it was a big battle that was fought when these consoles launch, and it's like, what's going to happen? What are the results? And then we see the results, and it's like, oh, they're pretty much the same. PS5 does better in some cases. Sometimes the Xbox does, but in general, they're pretty much the same. It's like, okay, I guess that's that. You know what I mean? Like, we can all move on now. Magnum Visuals, you're saying cast iron Voltrons are valuable because they are heavy. Yeah, so Laman, you're saying, do you think Sony should buy an RPG studio like Obsidian? I mean, yeah, I think maybe they should at some point. I don't know which RPG studio they could purchase. Maybe they could build one in the future, or maybe they could get one of their internal studios currently to, you know, become maybe become an RPG studio. I could see that happening. Carlos, you're saying, are we seriously blaming Xbox PlayStation issues? I don't fully understand. I guess you're trying to say, are we blaming Xbox for PlayStation's issues? No, nobody's doing that right now, dude. If that's what you're getting at. If I'm reading what you're saying correctly, I'm not, and I don't think anybody here is blaming Xbox for any of PlayStation's problems. If you're wondering why I brought up Xbox, it's just because I'm trying to highlight that the thing that Microsoft and Sony have in common, just like every other entity, any other company in business, is they want to make money. They all have this in common. They all go about it in different ways. All right, with that being said, I spent way too much time on this first topic. So the next topic I want to discuss with you really quick is let's talk about, I need to bring it up here. Let's talk about Death Stranding 2, and apparently Kojima might be staying with PlayStation, right? So, you know, it's weird. I saw people on Twitter, man, when I tweeted this out, they're getting mad at me. They're like, didn't you learn your lesson with Blue Box? It's like, whoa, calm down. Let's not go overboard right now. We're not talking about Blue Box. We're not talking about Silent Hill. We're talking about Norman Reedus essentially maybe, and I have to say maybe because we have to consider all angles here, confirming that Death Stranding 2 is currently in negotiations. So this is reading from VGC, so this is beginning to get reported on. And it says here, actor Norman Reedus has appeared to confirm that discussions have begun for a sequel to Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. Speaking to Brazilian reporter Vittoria Pratini from Adoro Cinema, I probably butchered that, the actor reportedly said, quote, I think we're doing a second Death Stranding. The game is in negotiations right now, so yay, unquote. I mean, that's a pretty loaded quote, dude. Like, you just like, yeah, we're doing Death Stranding 2, I think. Like, Clearly, Norman has not been paying attention to what's been going on in the gaming universe or the gaming world with when it comes to Kojima and Death Stranding and whatnot. So it goes on to say this marks the second time Norman Reedus has appeared to hint that Death Stranding 2 is in the works. Last year, the actor claimed he was, quote, in talks, unquote, to work on another project with director Hideo Kojima. We did Death Stranding, which was a huge hit, and we are in talks to do other stuff, he told Wired. Later in the video, Reedus added that he was talking to Hideo about maybe doing some Death Stranding stuff, although it's not clear if he was referring to the upcoming director's cut version, which he could have been. And so, yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing about Norman Reedus and what he said here. I want to read the quote one more time because there's a few things we do have to identify here before we jump to any conclusions. So he says, I think we're doing a second Death Stranding. The game is in negotiations right now, so yay. First of all, he's saying he thinks, as in he believes they are, but he's not entirely sure. But he seems to be sure that the game is in negotiations. Now, some people were saying, look, Norman isn't a gamer, right? People are thinking maybe he believes that and this is just, we're going to entertain both sides here. The first side we're going to entertain is the negative side where it's like, no, this is wrong. He's not talking about Death Stranding 2. He is confused and he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm only saying that because some people have said, well, Norman isn't a gamer and maybe he doesn't, he clearly doesn't have all of the information. Like he's in the know, but he doesn't have every piece of information. He might be getting Death Stranding or a sequel to Death Stranding just confused with the idea that Kojima is in negotiations for another game that might not be Death Stranding, and he just knows that Kojima wants him part of it, and maybe he's assuming it'll be Death Stranding 2. That sounds incredibly dumb to me. Because how could Norman Reedus not know what project he may be part of that's currently being negotiated? How, I mean, that just sounds so unrealistic to me. Like, this is what he does for a living, you know? Like, I don't know how he could confuse Death Stranding 2 with a completely new game. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, to me, that just seems like, how out of the loop would you have to be? I'll tell you what, if that's the case, there would be no reason for him to even say this. So, you know, we're looking at a situation here where we went from there being rumors that, oh, you know, Hideo Kojima is working with Xbox or Xbox is trying to get that set up. And I've never discounted that. Like, I've never tossed that out the window and said that's impossible because anything's possible. And I would believe it. Like, we also have to understand that Kojima doesn't have to be beholden to one publisher. Kojima can very much work with Sony and Xbox. Like, there doesn't have to be a pick or choose situation here. I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand that. Now, you know, could that happen at the same exact time? I don't know. Like, could Kojima work on 2 AAA games, one for Sony and one for Microsoft at the same time? I feel like that's a little unrealistic. I feel like it's possible maybe, but I don't know, man. I think it's super interesting that Norman just basically comes out here just like, yeah, I think we're doing Death Stranding 2. And that would be, you know, so I saw some people being like, I kid you not, on Twitter, I saw some people straight up asking, well, how could Death Stranding 2 be an Xbox exclusive? It's like, are you dense? Like, it wouldn't be. Like, it would be, PlayStation owns the Death Stranding IP. Like, it wouldn't be on Xbox. It wouldn't be. So if he is doing something with Xbox, it's not going to be Death Stranding. That's just a thing, you know, unless, I mean, Sony was like, here, Microsoft, have the Death Stranding IP. There's no way they would do that. Sony would never do that. They never would. But, you know, what's interesting to me, and this to me is, I think, the most interesting response that I've seen, because, you know, there's a lot of different responses to this information. Apparently there's a pretty decent amount of people I've seen that would not be excited at the prospect of a Death Stranding 2. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I saw somebody say, they were like, I remember Kojima in an interview, he said that when it comes to a sequel to Death Stranding, he doesn't see it being like a traditional sequel. Maybe it would be like more of like an anthology series or something like that. Or, maybe it could be a prequel. Maybe it could be, I don't know, maybe it could just be something totally different inside of the Death Stranding universe where it still stars Norman Reedus, but he's just playing a completely different role. You know what I'm saying? It could be something like that. I really enjoyed Death Stranding. This is what's tough for me is even though I enjoyed Death Stranding, I got to be totally honest with you right now. I would much prefer to see Kojima do something completely brand new again than do another Death Stranding, mainly because I think Death Stranding was so interesting and unique and just different that it's like, I kind of want that experience again, if possible. And I know that's really difficult because new IP is hard. And, Kojima, he has, made a fair bit of sequels, obviously, over the course of his developmental career. By the way, guys, do me a favor. We have over 780 people here hanging out with me and watching. Could you do me a favor and please hit that like button for me? Can we get up to 500 likes? I would really appreciate that. Liking the stream, liking the content, it helps. It helps get it out there to people. So if you want to see this podcast continue to grow, just take a second to hit the like button for me. Magnum Visuals, you're saying, I feel that Kojima is the type of person who will only work on one project at a time. He likes to be methodical with his work. Yeah, I could see that too. You're saying MBG Sony added the PlayStation symbols to Kojima, who still believes in the Xbox deal is lost. Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to there. Where was that added? But yeah, I feel like I would much prefer Kojima to, if he was going to work with Norman Reedus again, to do. Honestly, look, I know like there's the whole Silent Hill and whatnot. Not going to talk about Silent Hill, but I honestly would love to see Kojima attempt a proper horror game. I really would. There were some horror elements, not a whole lot of them, but there were definitely some horror elements in Death Stranding. And, obviously there's PT and what was done there and the concept trailer of PT or Silent Hills. And I just feel like Kojima, before he's done, with his career eventually, he needs to produce a horror game. Like we need to get a Kojima horror game. I don't care if it's with Xbox. I don't care if it's with PlayStation. I just want a Kojima horror game. I really want to see what he can do because in my opinion, he's proven at this point that even though he seems to be very scared of horror movies and he doesn't, he has trouble watching and whatnot, he clearly has the creativity to do something really interesting in that genre. So, I would love to see that, again, like I feel like Death Stranding 2, I don't know. I don't know which direction they could take the story in, I don't know. I really don't know. It had a pretty sound ending. If you complete like a pretty wrapped up ending, I guess there are some different things they could explore if they wanted to. But yeah, in general, I had to take a moment to talk about this because, I mean, guys, like, I'm going to tell you right now, if I am one of these people, and this is I hate talking about this. Like, I hate talking about this because people get all weird about it. All I'm saying is if I was one of these people who every time Kojima's talked about, I'm like, yeah, Kojima's with Xbox now. After hearing this, I wouldn't, I'm not saying he couldn't be in talks to do a deal with Xbox at the end of the day. I'm not saying we couldn't see that revealed. All I'm saying is this would make me feel less confident that he's doing something with Xbox. Not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but you have Norman Reedus literally talking about Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding is an IP that's owned by Sony. Death Stranding's getting a director's cut. I'm just saying, it seems unlikely to me that if Kojima were to do anything with Xbox, it seems unlikely to me at this point in time that he would be doing it while not doing anything with PlayStation. I think that he's still going to maintain that relationship with and partnership with PlayStation. That's my assumption. Again, it's so fascinating to me that Norman is coming out here and saying this, and we just talked about how Herman Hulst did an interview where he name dropped Kojima Productions again for the second time this year. So it's like, all right, I have very little reason to actually believe at this point in time that Kojima Productions will not be working with PlayStation to some capacity going forward. I have very little reason to believe that. MBG is still nervous about Kojima and Xbox. Dude, like, I guess I'm just gonna have to prove it to everybody. If Phil Spencer comes on stage and he's like, we have announced a partnership with Kojima Productions, his next game is gonna be exclusive to Xbox, I'm just gonna have to prove it. Like, guys, I'm gonna play his game on Xbox. Like, it's not about being nervous. It's just, the only thing that makes me nervous about Kojima not being part of PlayStation is that it makes it seem like they ended on bad terms. You know what I mean? And you don't want that look. It's not a good look. And that's why I try to tell people, like, dude, Death Stranding is getting a director's cut. Like, I don't know why Sony would allow that if they didn't think the game deserved it. You know what I mean? Usually when when a game fails based off of Sony's history, Sony just kind of walks away from it completely and just leaves it to die. Like, they don't continue to pursue it based off of what my understanding of how PlayStation deals with that. So thank you so much, Lucas2580, for becoming a member. Welcome aboard. I appreciate that, buddy. All right, so with that being said, we're going to move on to the next topic, which is talking about Horizon Forbidden West being delayed. More specifically, I'm not going to talk too much about the delay because it's been confirmed. We've known this for a couple days now. It's releasing on February 18th, 2022. But what I do want to focus on is, well, now that we have the official confirmation, how are we feeling now that it's official that Horizon Forbidden West is not going to make 2021? We have the second half of, I can't say half anymore, but we have the remaining months in 2021. We know what PlayStation's lineup looks like. How do we feel about it? How are we feeling about Deathloop, Cannon Bridge of Spirits, and some smaller titles as well? And pretty much waiting until 2022 to get the next big PlayStation game, PlayStation Studios game. iSiler saying, folks, forget MGS 2-3, which had extra content for the Xbox versions, and Metal Gear Rising. He's always done a game for Xbox. Yeah, that's true. That's true when you think about it. It's not like Kojima's games have never been on Xbox. They have been. They have been, for sure. They usually just come a little bit later, like specifically like Metal Gear stuff. But you're saying you feel relieved that it got delayed? There's too many games coming out this year. Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like it's interesting, right? It's interesting to see how Sony just very rapidly is like, yeah, that, like, not rapidly, but there's no hesitation where it's like, yeah, this game's delayed until February. After believing that, kind of talking about it, and Sony's been very open. Spacey, you're saying, so Grub was right again. About what? Oh, okay, about Horizon. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like, dude, I don't know why people frame it like, I'm not at war with Jeff Grubb. Like, I'm not here. I know that a lot of people who are PlayStation fans are not fans of Jeff Grubb because he just comes off like he's very much like pro Xbox, not too in the PlayStation. I don't care. Like, dude, Jeff Grubb to me it's like, if he says it, I feel like maybe it's true. Like, I definitely trust Jeff Grubb more so than other people that we've talked about on the channel here, because he has been proven to be right with some things. But at the same time, it's like, in that case, Jason Schreier was also correct as well. The difference between Jeff Grubb and Jason Schreier in this case, I just want it to be known. This isn't a knock on Jeff Grubb, but it's just the truth. Jeff Grubb kind of said, I'm pretty sure it was delayed, but I can't 100% confirm it. Jason Schreier came out and he was like, no, I'm telling you, it's been delayed 100%. Like, just 100% confident. And so in general, it's just like, there are some people where it's like, yeah, they have some credibility and it might be worth paying attention to. This is why I said, like, when I heard it, especially from Jason Schreier, said, I believe it, considering how quiet Sony's been on it. So it's like, look, this isn't a matter of, oh, does Jeff Grubb right? Is Jeff Grubb wrong? Like, I don't really care, dude. Like, if Jeff Grubb comes out tomorrow and says, hey, Sony's going to have an event in September, I'm going to be excited. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be like, hey, man, you were just right about, I don't know, some Xbox stuff. You were wrong about some stuff, but you got some Xbox stuff right, And so it's like, maybe you're right about this PlayStation event. I hope you are, He said that PlayStation was going to be doing something in September. So in this case, it's like, I'm not rooting for Jeff Grubb to be wrong. And I know people think that. It's like, oh, well, what about Jeff Grubb and the Kojima thing? What about it? What about it? Like, Jeff Grubb didn't say Kojima's 100% working with Xbox. That's not what he said. Jeff Grubb said that apparently Xbox was getting ready to sign a letter of intent. And if you do your research and you look into what a letter of intent is, you'll know that it's not confirmation of anything. It's basically like an outline of like what we want to do and what we hope to do. And then you move on to the next step after that. That's all. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I know people are going to be like, if Kojima doesn't work with Microsoft, everybody's going to dunk on Jeff Grubb and be like, you were wrong. And it's like, I mean, he's going to get that flack if he is wrong in the end because he shouldn't have been revealing this stuff. Like, let me ask you this, and I'm just trying to say this. Why do you think you don't hear companies, why do you think Microsoft didn't come out and announce that they were getting ready to sign a letter of intent with Kojima? Why do you think they didn't announce that? Don't you think that's something they would want to announce? They don't do that because they don't know if it's actually going to happen. That's why. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. You can't, it's just like if Sony signed a letter of intent with Kojima, Sony's not going to announce that. No one's going to announce that because it might fall through. That's the point. Anyway, I mean, turn this into, insider talk and like who's right, who's wrong. It doesn't matter at this point. All I'm saying is that I think Sony, the thumbnail here where I said Sony made a tough but right decision. It's because that's exactly what it is, man. Is like, dude, this is tough. This is tough for me. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was really excited for Horizon this year. And I thought, if Sony doesn't have an event this year and they don't do any big showcase, maybe the thing that could make up for that is we have Horizon. And we don't have that. We don't know if Sony's going to do anything before the end of the year. We do know that we're not going to get Horizon until next year, but I'm okay with it, man. Like, it's a tough spill. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's one that'll be worthwhile because this is what Sony, they don't compromise here. And I just want to say that, and I'm not trying to throw Halo under the bus or Microsoft, but we have to call out these differences. We're seeing a situation where Halo is delayed for a year, and it still has to launch in a state where it's not fully ready. It's just not fully ready. Halo is going to have the campaign co-op cut. It's not going to have the Forge mode. Also, can somebody in the chat please let me know what is going on with the whole Halo Infinite multiplayer XP thing? What's going on there? Some people were telling me that there's like some kind of war being waged within the Halo community about the way this is being handled. I'm not familiar with it at all, so I don't know if you could just give me like an overview of the situation so I can understand what's happening in regards to that, if anybody knows. But I just want to say that, this is where you're not seeing Sony do that just for the sake of hitting that holiday 2021 launch. And I know that, like, they're two different games. You're saying you don't get XP unless you pay for a pass or something? Really? No way, dude. That can't be right. You don't get XP for kills, etc. in-game. You get XP for completing daily challenges. Huh. Has it always been like that in Halo? Because that sounds kind of bizarre. That sounds kind of bizarre. I wouldn't enjoy that. Get XP from challenges. It's new. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any Halo fans listening to this. How do you guys feel about that if you are a Halo fan? Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like to me that, I don't know. That sounds weird, man. Saying that's whack, they'll change it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, saying, for instance, in Warzone, you get points and XP for everything. Lucas, I see you're asking, did I see the Reddit post where someone's Xbox Series exploded? Yes, I did see that. I did see that Reddit post. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, isn't the normal way to handle XP in a shooter to you get XP for both kills and challenges? Why just limit it to challenges? That seems really bizarre to me. I don't understand the reasoning behind it. Like, is it like, what does that really change? I guess the only thing I can think is maybe the idea is they're trying to get it so that people are more team oriented, where they're not so focused on just kills and like maybe winning, game modes, and focused on playing the objective. But even then it's like, come on, like, just let people get XP for kills, What's saying Xbox can't repeat history and apparently need challenges to progress through. Saying Xbox can't repeat history and apparently you need to complete challenges to progress through the battle pass instead of playing matches and get XP by just playing games like COD. Oh, okay. Oh, is that why? That would actually explain it. Is it because it's linked to the battle pass that they're going to have? If that's why, I might look further into this, because that's a little weird to me if that's why they're doing that. Because they have a bunch of modes that are still secret and they want people to play them. I guess that's a possibility too. Well, anyway, I got a little bit off track there. We are going to talk a little bit more about Halo, but specifically about the campaign and what's going on there, because Halo fans are getting a little bit worried, understandably. I see somebody saying the Call of Duty Vanguard alpha was mid. You know what? Before I talk about Horizon, I may have to rant a little bit. I'm not going to rant too much, but holy crap, dude. Like, I have been playing Call of Duty for years, okay? Like, I am a Call of Duty veteran. I've been playing this game since, like, honestly, since the first and second game, dude. I've been part of Call of Duty, and it's had its ups and downs. But when I tell you, this is the first time, and I just need to make this clear that, like, I know that there's this whole situation going on, which is a terrible, terrible situation with Activision. I just want to make it clear that this is not part of what I'm saying, because I'm just talking purely from a gameplay perspective. Like, I'm not thinking about Activision as a publisher. I'm just thinking about Sledgehammer Games as a video game developer. This is the first time ever that I played a Call of Duty game, and within like 3 rounds, I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing this. And I just literally deleted it. And I've just decided that I'm going to go with Battlefield this year. I know that people are like, but Battlefield and the campaign, you know what? That's okay. Unless it was Bad Company, I never really bought Battlefield for the campaign. And I didn't like it because I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the setting. Everything about the game just rubbed me the wrong way. Where I'm like, it seems cheesy. It seems a little bit cringy, because it's like, we're doing the World War II thing again. And now we have like, like they're really pushing for like, yeah, look at these characters. They're really cool, right? And check out the Tommy gun again and the MP40 again. And like, check out this really bland brown map again. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, fine. We're going to World War II again. And then I played and I'm like, this just feels like a World War II skin. It's like a worse version of Modern Warfare 2019. And I'm like, I didn't even really like Modern Warfare 2019. It was okay, but definitely not. It didn't feel like normal Call of Duty to me, and like why I go to Call of Duty. It felt like it was trying to be more like Battlefield. which is fine, but I feel like let's leave Battlefield to Battlefield. You guys get what I'm saying? So anyway, I don't know. I just have to mention that because I was like kind of not excited for the alpha. I wasn't excited about this Call of Duty at all, but I was like, you know what? PlayStation Alpha, I'll give it a shot. You know, I usually play Call of Duty for a little while every year. And when I played it, I'm like, I just didn't like it, dude. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the way it felt. Everything felt overly clunky and I couldn't see enemies properly. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to pass. You know, Battlefield seems like the better shooter to me for sure this year. Yazzer, you're saying, I'm okay with PlayStation releases for the remaining months of 2021, but I really want a big PlayStation event before the end of the year. PlayStation Experience in December. Dude, that's my whole, like, I don't know, Yazzer. Like, I wish I could tell you. I wish I had an inside source. I wish I knew somebody close to me that worked for Sony and could be like, hey, man, I just want to let you know that they are planning to do an event before the end of the year. Be like, oh, awesome. You know, that's nice to know. But I don't know, dude. Like, I really don't know. I want to believe that Sony is going to have something to show us, something before the end of the year. We'll have to see what happens next month. I would absolutely love for a PlayStation Experience at the end of the year. In fact, I think it would make a ton of sense. But we don't know. We have no choice but to wait and see. And so I've just been doing my best to continue to cover PlayStation here on the channel. And you know, there's been some good stuff here and there. It hasn't really been, you know, anything too interesting or exciting. I think we're all still being patient, but I'm focused on trying to just enjoy what's here now, what's going to be coming for the remainder of the year. And, you know, as a content creator, I hope that Sony does have some interesting things to say before the end of the year that I can cover and we can talk about. And yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but one thing, excuse me, that I do need to mention here. Actually, let me read these super chats before I do. Jacob, you're saying, did Microsoft even announce a Kojima partnership? No. There has nothing officially been announced yet between Hideo Kojima, Kojima Productions, and Microsoft. Nothing formal or official. It might end up being announced at some point, but, you know, we'll have to see. Saying Deathloop is getting good previews. Yeah, I think people are a little hard on Deathloop because it's like we've seen so much of it. It's like, can you show too much of a game? It's like, I think in this case, yeah. It doesn't look bad, though. It's not a game I'm overly excited about. The tone of the game is a little weird to me, but the gameplay looks like it could be really fun. So I'm definitely interested. Saying love from Scotland, dude. Love your content. Thank you so much, man. Magnum Visuals are saying COD Vanguard is too arcadey and cringe. The narrator is annoyingly talking all the time. Dude, the whole presentation of Vanguard, I'm just not feeling it, dude, at all. I'm like, you guys are trying, like, I know that Sledgehammer Games got a little bit of flack with Call of Duty World War II back in like 2017 because it's like, it's just generic. It's World War II again. But at the beginning of the game, anyway, they changed it later on. But at the launch, anyway, it's like, yeah, it may be generic, but at least they're kind of like keeping it relatively grounded and they're just keeping it like traditional World War II. With this game, it feels like they're, I don't know, like the whole alternate history World War II. I'm just not a fan of it, man. I'm just not. I don't know why. I'm not digging it. But, I also, I want to say with, I wanted to mention this when it comes to PC Master Race. You're saying Little Nightmares 2 has ray tracing on PS5, but the Series X doesn't have ray tracing. Are you sure that's true? I heard the opposite. I heard that the ray tracing was actually a little bit better on the Series X. I saw that Digital Foundry uploaded a video. I might have to check that out, but I didn't, that's not what I heard. Anyway, I keep getting super distracted. My ADD is starting to kick in case you can't tell. What I was trying to say is what I find really interesting about the announcement of the delay for Horizon is that Sony decided at Gamescom they were going to announce the delay for Horizon, and they were also going to announce the patch, the PS5 patch for Horizon Zero Dawn, which I heard is amazing, All right. Excuse me. What I find interesting, and some people were coming to my channel and to my Twitter, and they were like, "Hey, man, now that Sony has officially announced the delay, you're saying there's no ray tracing on Series X. Really? Are you serious? I'm gonna have to look into this. Because that's weird to me. If that's true, that's crazy. That these consoles have been out this long, and you're gonna tell me like we're still seeing this situation where the PS5 is getting ray tracing and the Series X isn't. I don't know. You guys could be trolling me. This happens sometimes. I'll have to look into it. But anyway, getting back to Horizon, what I'm trying to spit out here is people were saying to me, you're like, dude, this is pretty much confirmation that Sony's not going to be showing anything else for the rest of the year. They're not going to have an event. They're not going to have a big state of play. They're pretty much just done. Like, they're just going to ride it out for the rest of the year, release the remaining games they have, and focus on 2022. And I totally understand why you would be left feeling that way. But I have to highlight something that I think is fairly important with that announcement. We didn't get another trailer or gameplay demo. They just said, here's the release date, and this is when pre-orders are going live. And to me, that's like, I just don't, like, am I supposed to believe that Sony's not going to show anything else of Horizon for the rest of the year, knowing it's coming out in February? I just don't believe that. And I feel like if they were going to, if they decided to announce a delay at Gamescom, again, an event, wouldn't it make sense for them to just show a trailer there, right? Like another short trailer, story trailer, gameplay trailer, anything trailer, and they didn't. And that tells me that, like, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to find things that aren't there, but that was noticeable to me. It was noticeable. It's like, wait, you're announcing, you decided to announce a delay at an event, and normally you would do that accompanied with a trailer. You didn't show a trailer, but instead you did give us something. You gave us the Horizon Zero Dawn patch, which I think made up for it, because I mean, come on, who shows up at an event just to announce a delay? No more footage. Like, literally, it's like, hey guys, Horizon's delayed. All right, see it. Yeah, like, you don't do that. That's why they're like, hey guys, Horizon's delayed, but we have this patch for you. I just don't believe that we're not going to see anything for the remainder of the year. Now, does that mean that confirms there's an event? No, it doesn't. Sony doesn't have to have an event to show more Horizon. I'm only saying this because I just don't believe this notion that some people are saying where they're like, well, you better buckle up, MBG, because Sony ain't saying nothing for the rest of the year. And I'm like, that sounds impossible to me. I know Sony is they're silent and they have these long periods of being quiet, but I don't think that they're going to say and do nothing for the remainder of the year. That would be absurd to me. I feel like that's just messed up. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just like, I know that Sony is maybe coasting a little bit because they need to work on producing more PS5s and whatnot, but let's not forget that a lot of their games that are coming out next year are also releasing on PS4, so they still have a good reason to talk about these games and show them off. It's not like they're hiding God of War because they're waiting to get more PS5s. I mean, it's going to launch on PS4. I mean, they could be. The data may indicate that most people are going to want to buy this game on PS5. We need to get more PS5s. So I just wanted to mention that. I also just want to say that I'm totally okay with Sony deciding to delay Horizon. By the way, we have a new member, Brarios. Hopefully, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome aboard. I appreciate your support. So thank you so much for doing that. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm totally okay with Sony delaying Horizon, because the truth is, guys, like, if the difference between this game coming out, kind of unpolished or not as polished as it should be, with some bugs and some glitches and just some things that shouldn't be there, and it not being as good as it can be, if the difference is a couple of extra months of polish time, yeah, take those. Like, I can wait. Like, I'd rather just wait and know that when I pay my $70 for this game, I just want it to be, and I'm not going to say 100% perfect because that's just unreasonable. We're talking about video games, and video games are always going to have some imperfections. Again, like I said earlier, nothing's perfect. But if I'm going to pay $70, I want it to be the absolute best it can be. And I just love that Sony, this is where Sony, they don't compromise in this way where they're like, we're going to delay it. We're going to delay it. And it's like, people expect me to be upset at a delay. I can't. Because you know what? You know what's messed up to me? When you, like, again, highlighting Halo, they had to announce that they're cutting features at launch because they're not going to be ready. Because they have a certain period of time between now and launch to get the game shippable, or what they believe to be shippable, and these just can't happen yet. So rather than delay it to make sure that it can have all the features at launch, they're just going to launch it and then add the features in later. I want people to understand that at one point in time, Microsoft was going to launch this game, Halo Infinite, that in holiday of 2021, they still need features cut. They were going to try and release this game in holiday of 2020 last year. That is bonkers. That is absolutely bonkers, and it's concerning. And if I was an Xbox fan, I would genuinely be concerned at the management over there. I mean, I'm not that concerned where it's like, look, you guys did the right thing. You delayed it for a year. I give Microsoft a ton of credit for that. You did the right thing because they still could have launched it holiday 2020 and it would have been a disaster. But it's like, holy crap, you had a whole year to get this game good to go and you're still cutting features at launch? That's unacceptable in my opinion. I just think that's messed up. And this is where I'm just saying, like, to me, it just highlights the difference in approach with Sony and Microsoft. And this is why I choose to stick with Sony because, yeah, I may have to wait a little bit longer. And yeah, the holiday season for me with PlayStation games might be a little bit drier. But if there's ever a time to not have to worry about playing a massive PlayStation exclusive, honestly, I think the holiday season is the best time because I'm going to have all these other third-party AAA games to play. Not that we're not getting anything. I'll probably be playing Deathloop into October as well as Kenna Bridge of Spirits, right? But it's like, I'm just glad Sony isn't like that, man. Like, I really am. I'm glad Sony isn't like, hey, we're going to drop Horizon Forbidden West, but it's going to be missing a couple of these features because, you know, we don't want to delay it and we want to launch it. And it's like, okay, I guess, like, that to me just, like, that just sucks. Like, just release it when it's ready, when it's good to go. Like, I'm paying you $70, you know what I mean? I'm going to pay $70 for this game. And I tried explaining this last week. It's like, you can't say the same about Halo Infinite where it's like, how much are you paying for Halo Infinite? $10? Oh, okay, bingo, there you go. We're dropping it. Like, it's where, and to be fair, I'm just going to say, if you're paying $10 to play Halo Infinite just for a month with the campaign and the multiplayer, I think it'll be worth the $10. Okay? I think it'll be worth the $10. I'm not saying Halo is going to be bad or it's going to be a low quality game, but it just, again, it does, in my opinion, very clearly highlight the difference in approach, just even philosophically speaking, behind development there at Microsoft and development at Sony. And that's why I just prefer Sony's way. So, yeah, it is unfortunate that we are going to have to wait a little bit longer, but, the game will be here before we know it. And, yeah, man, Horizon is going to be an incredible game. I think, dude, you know what? This actually brings up something else I wanted to talk about before we move on to the next topic, which is highlighting how utterly insane 2022 is looking for games in general. MBG, did you see the Cowboy Bebop adaptation? I saw some pictures of it. I guess it looks okay. I don't really have an opinion on it. Like, maybe I'll watch it. It always has that kind of like shock value where it's like, you don't ever expect to see certain characters like in real life, and then you do, and you're like, huh, like, that's a little off-putting at first, but it doesn't, I don't know. Like, I saw people freaking out about it. It's like, to me, it's like, it's kind of what I expected. Like, when I heard that Cowboy Bebop was going to have a live action showing, I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to come off a little weird at first because it always does. It always does, you know? So it is what it is. If they stay true to the, you know, the anime and they do it right, then I'm sure it'll be fine. That's how I feel about it. But I want to talk to you real quick. I got this list that I have up in front of me of the PlayStation 5 2022 lineup. It's not just exclusive games. It also comes with multi-plat games, which makes the list completely overwhelming. This list was actually done up by @ZubyTech, Zuby_tech over on Twitter. So you can check him out if you want. I want to make sure I give credit for this list that I'm reading from. So we have, this isn't a game, but I think people forgot that we're expected to get Discord integration into PlayStation in 2022. We got Gran Turismo 7. Okay, so that's a 2022 game. Horizon Forbidden West, Forspoken, Ghostwire Tokyo, Stray, Sifu, Goodbye Volcano High. Now we're going to move on to some of the multi-plat games. We have Elden Ring, Saints Row, Elden Ring in January. Dude, Elden Ring in January, and then right after that, oh, it's a late January too. My God. Elden Ring in late January, and then Horizon Forbidden West in mid-February. That is too much. That's too much. I don't have enough time. I just, that's too much, man. So you got Saints Row, King of Fighters, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, Grid Legends, WWE 2K 2022, Rainbow Six Extraction, Blood Bowl 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, The Lord of the Rings Gollum, Stray Blade, The Callisto Protocol, Need for Speed, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. I think he put that twice. Test Drive Unlimited, Solar Crown, Vampire the Masquerade, Swan Song, Final Fantasy 16, God of War Ragnarok, and PlayStation VR 2 most likely. We'll be seeing that because dev kits were out. So it's like, holy hell, man. That is and you know what the crazy thing is? We don't even know. There's going to be even more games announced, you know? There's going to be even more games announced that we don't know about that are going to be there. So yeah, I don't know, man. Get your wallets ready because that's a crazy lineup. And you know what? If you are playing both Xbox and PlayStation, we didn't even talk about any Xbox games on that list. So if you're playing both, man, good luck to you. Good luck to you. That is difficult. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure to kind of highlight, even though it is a slight negative that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get Horizon Forbidden West. At the very least, it's like it makes 2022 just that much stronger of a year in general. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the next topic, which is we have to talk. Okay, so I have to talk about this for a little bit. All right, we have to talk about a developer, I think, who worked at Traveler's Tale Games. So this developer works on the Lego games. This was something I saw making the rounds, and I wasn't really paying attention to it at first, and I still kind of haven't because I don't really care that much, but a lot of you were asking me to cover it, so I'm going to talk about it. A developer recently talked about the PS5's SSD, specifically Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and this developer is claiming that what we were seeing done in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart could be done on a PlayStation 3. Wow, okay. I mean, it's like, all right, I guess you're a developer, dude. What I guess you know better than I do, and Sony. I don't know, man. That's a pretty ballsy statement, dude. That's a pretty ballsy statement. I just spit all over my desk. So I'm actually going to read from this article so I can give you all the details. You're saying I should watch his video. It's very informative. Yeah, I didn't watch the video, but I have this article here that breaks it down. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think he's 100% wrong. I do think that there's truth to what he's saying, but I think that we have to identify that I like in order for what's being done, I could be wrong about this, but in order for what's being done in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart to work on a PS3, I mean, dude, the game's gonna look straight trash. Like, and I know like the whole teleportation thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. Some people were highlighting that apparently he didn't talk about what Blizzard Prime. What's the the friggin' names of these planets? There's this one planet where it's like there's a whole lot going on at one time. Apparently he didn't talk about that planet. So I don't know if he will. Yeah, a lot of loading. But anyway, it says here, John Burton, veteran LEGO Games developer and the creative director of 2001's Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex, has said that Insomniac Games misled players by claiming that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's rifts would not have been possible on older hardware. Burton, who founded Traveler's Tale, now TT Games, has made comments in a YouTube video in which he said that those impressive rifts and pocket dimensions could even be done on the PlayStation 3, let alone the PlayStation 4 and 5. And so this is a quote. He says, now they could be using all kinds of solid state drive trickery to pull these off, but because it's just one rift and it always goes to the same area, this can easily be achieved in older hardware, Burton said. The pocket dimensions are really graphically basic and in fact just seem to use a lot of the same generic objects like crates that would already be available in generic memory. So it's pretty much a sky dome, a few small platforms, generic objects, and nice lighting. So on older hardware, it wouldn't take much memory, especially as it also uses the generic objects, all of which make it quick to load. Using the example of a scene where Ratchet goes through a portal and then speeds through a rail, Burton added that it's a small forced sequence that allowed Insomniac to preload everything. You only move across a very small part of the world and have very little ability to even move during this section. This means the game has the whole time you're playing the section to load the next section. All right, look. First of all, dude, I just need to know, and I'm not trying to be arrogant here because this is a developer, so it's like, all right, dude, you know, man, like I'm not a developer. I need to know why he didn't mention. Tell me if I have the name of the planet incorrect, but I'm pretty sure it's Blizzard Prime, the planet where you basically hit the crystal and it shifts from one planet to another literally instantaneously. Just totally different assets. You know what I'm saying? Is that the name of the planet? Like, to me, it's like, okay, you're talking about some of these portals, and he's focused more on the misleading. Yeah, that is the right planet. Okay. I forget the names of the planets, but he's basically saying like, oh, they misled you. It's like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know if that's true. Like, I can't confirm to you if that's true. I'm not a developer. So when Insomniac Games says what we're doing in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart with these portals could only be done on the PS5, I'm going to take their word for it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, I'm not a developer. I don't know the ins and outs. And I have a developer here saying, yeah, no, that's not true. But my follow-up question to him would be, is it technically, now, because again, I don't know the technicality of it. You're saying, MBG, he mentioned the planets and the crystals, but deleted it afterwards because he realized it won't fit his arguments. My whole thing is this, man. Like, I've never argued that could it be possible to get Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart running on a PS4, let alone a PS3. I've never argued that. I think it could be possible, but things would have to change. A lot of things would have to change. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is when Insomniac Games tells me you see everything you're experiencing in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart in the way you're experiencing it, the way it looks, the way it runs, how instantaneous everything is, no load times, this could only be done on the PS5. I believe them because if they came out and said, we would have to change this and we would have to alter that and we would have to insert this and we would have to downgrade that. If they said all these different things and then we could get it to run on the PS4, then they're not wrong. They're not technically lying. But I guess, it is understandable where it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe from a development standpoint, it's like, yeah, maybe they're stretching it a little bit, but I don't know, man. You're saying when you would hit the crystal, you would see a load screen. Yeah, it's just ridiculous to me. It's like, what's wrong with Insomniac making a PlayStation 5 exclusive where they're trying their damnedest to do some crazy things that I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I haven't really specifically with the Blizzard Prime section, like I haven't experienced that in a game. I just haven't. I mean, at least not in a game I played. I thought that the portal sections were awesome. Yeah, they're on rails mostly, but I'm just saying, it's like, did they lie? Is it a scam? It's difficult for me. It's difficult for me to argue against this because, again, like, I'm not a developer and I'm not going to say things that I don't know if it's true or not. Like, he's a developer and he's claiming they could get it to work. I would like to know, Insomniac, did you lie? I don't think it matters. Like, I think a better question I would want to ask him is, who in their right mind would want to play this on PS3? See, I think what this highlights is a bigger problem. Now, people will be like, oh, Insomniac lied. No, Insomniac didn't lie because, again, technicality, if they had to change certain aspects of the game and downgrade certain aspects of the game and maybe change certain sections of the game to get it to run on a PS4, then technically what they're saying about we can only do this on the PS5 with this version, yeah, that's technically true. What I think this highlights is a bigger issue, though, which is what I want to focus on, which is why do developers have to defend, and why do publishers like Sony, why do they have to defend their desire to want to make a game exclusive? Do you see what I'm saying? Why do they have to defend this? Why is it like, well, we have to say that it's like, we need to make sure we say this is only possible. Like, no, you don't have to do anything. All you have to say is this is an exclusive game. We want to make this game exclusive to the PS5. I don't give a shit if it's possible on the PS4 or the PS3. I just make it exclusive and tell me it's an exclusive. That's all I need. Like, what happened to those good old days? Now these days it's like, well, it needs to be justified. Like, okay, I guess. And you see people wonder why. Like, you wonder why Horizon and God of War are releasing on PS4. It's because people won't quit with this stuff, man. Even developers where it's like, you're a bad guy. You're bad. You're doing the wrong thing if you're making a game exclusive. And I see these people, they bring up arguments like exclusives need to die. Like, Jesus, man. Like, okay, yeah, let's no more exclusives. Why not? Because that's just absurd. Space D, you're saying Psychonauts 2 achieved the same portal trick. I wouldn't know. I haven't played Psychonauts 2. Magna Visuals, you're saying the speed of the SSD is not in the teleportation ability, but rather the amount of detail presented on screen. The UE5 demo, it draws billions of triangles. And that's what I'm trying to say, where it's like, technically speaking, yeah, I'm sure you could get a version, like a crazy, ridiculous, terrible version of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart to run on the PS3, but like that's not the allure of the game. The allure of the game is the entire package. It's like you just said, it's the fact that you can get this level of detail instantaneously, no load screens right in front of your face. He even says it here. I just want to say, he even says it here in the article, and I'm not trying to fight with this developer because it's not about that. Like, I really don't care. He definitely knows more than I do, but he says they could be using all kinds of solid state drive trickery to pull these off. Like, when I read that statement, they could be using all kinds of SSD trickery. Isn't that what Insomniac said, though? Isn't that like what they tried to express, is that we're basically using the SSD inside of the PS5, and this is what makes this game possible in this way? I don't, it doesn't make sense to me, man. I don't know. Yeah, like you're saying, isn't that the point? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that the freaking point, man? It's just, I just don't know why this has to be such a big deal to so many people. And I get it. It's because I think a lot of PlayStation fans with, with Ratchet and Clank were like, PS5 exclusive, this can't run on anything else. Suck it. Like, I get it. But it's like, what's wrong with that, man? Like, what's wrong with that? Like, Sony wants to bring out a console like, hey, we got this new console. We're going to make some exclusives. And let me tell you, man, some of the stuff you're seeing on this console, only possible on the PS5. You know what? Guess what? What's happening? I'm going to drop one for you right now. What you're seeing with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on the PS5 right now, okay, in 2021, is only possible on the PS5 because you're not going to be able to play it on anything else. There, end of discussion. I don't give a shit if it can run on the PS3 because it's never going to release on the PS3. Why in God's name would this game ever release on PS3? I don't give a shit if this game could run on the PS4 or the Xbox Series X and S. I do not care because you know what? Ratchet and Clank is not releasing on any of those consoles. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is on the PS5 and it's taking advantage of the PS5 hardware, and that's that. End of discussion. End of the conversation. If you have a problem with that, go cry about it. Insomniac doesn't care. Insomniac is, probably off developing Spider-Man 2 while PlayStation 5 owners are enjoying the game. And I understand not everybody can get a PS5. And if you're crying because I want to play this game on the PS5 and I can't, I sympathize with you. Be patient. Eventually, the game will come down in price. You'll get your PS5 eventually, and you can enjoy it in all its glory. Okay? Exactly. Only possible on PS5 because it's a goddamn PS5 exclusive. That's why it's only possible on PS5 because Sony made it that way. Insomniac made it that way. I'm just trying to say, man, like, if that's, I saw people saying, well, if that's the case, I guess you could play Halo Infinite on a PS2 while we're at it. Let's just keep going. Why not keep going? Let's talk about what's possible if we really want to make it possible. I understand that people are like, oh, dude, but lies. It's like, okay, we get it. Sony lies a little bit. This is just, maybe they don't lie, but they mislead. He didn't say they lie. He says they mislead. Space D, you're saying, wow, so much corporate shill. Dude, Space D, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing to be said at this point that hasn't already been said. Like, if it's true that Insomniac misled, I don't care. If that makes me a corporate shill, I do not care because you know what? I bought a PS5. I bought Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I enjoyed every minute of it, dude. It was a great game, and it blew me away in a lot of areas. So it's like I'm not the kind of person where it's like, I don't know, man. Did Insomniac lie to me? Could this game run on the PS3? What if it could? I don't care if it could run on the Xbox, dude. I do not care. All right. Forza Horizon 5, it's only possible on the series consoles. It's only possible on PC, man. It can't run on the PlayStation consoles. You know why? Because it's not coming to the PlayStation consoles. It literally can't run. It's just a blank screen. I don't know, man. I know I'm going a little bit off the rails here, but the truth is, look, if what he's saying is true, okay. If Insomniac was a little bit, I don't know if, I don't know if they were, but if they were, if Insomniac was a little bit misleading, why? Because they want you to go buy their game on PS5? Because they want to make the PS5 sound good? Let me show you how shocked I am. I'm so shocked. A company wants to market their product. Like, it is what it is, man. Why do we believe this dev? It's not that I believe him. It's just I can't argue against it because I don't have the technical prowess or knowledge. Like, he's a developer. He's worked on games. I haven't. So it's like, I'm going to tell you right now, though, if I had to take his word for it or Insomniac's word, I'm just going to take Insomniac's word. I am. Because they're the ones who made the damn game, dude. Like, I'm not going to take You know, I'll put it to you this way. Did anybody take a second to ask why? Why is it that Sony didn't market Demon Souls in a way where it's like, this can only be played on PS5? This can only be, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, why would Insomniac lie about Ratchet and Clank is what I need to know. I think that's the question we need to ask. The question of why would Insomniac talk about the SSD, saying that Ratchet and Clank is only possible with this SSD and yada, 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 and full well knowing that that's not true. Why would they do that? But then, you know, with a game like Demon Souls, which is exclusive to just the PS5 right now, Demon Souls Remake, nobody's marketing Demon Souls Remake saying it's only possible on the PS5. The point I'm trying to get at is that Sony has made it clear that they're not going to just make games exclusive to the PS5 under the banner of this is only possible on PS5. Sony will literally just make games exclusive on the, like, okay, Destruction All-Stars as well. That's another one. No, it's because they're not doing that. Like, the point is they're not trying to lie to you with every exclusive and say, well, this is only possible on PS5. It's a PS5 SSD. That's the only reason games like Demon Souls and Destruction All-Stars. No. So could it be that maybe Insomniac isn't lying and they're not misleading? I'm just saying, like, why does nobody consider that side of the coin? Why is it just, well, this one developer who doesn't work at Insomniac Games and didn't work on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, he's saying it can be played on the PS3, so I guess he must be right. I'm not listening to Insomniac at all. It's like Insomniac has some kind of egregious plan where it's like, yes, we're going to lie about the SSD and we're going to tell them it's only possible on PS5 because we just want everybody to know that it's only possible on PS5, and little will they know that we're tricking them, we're deceiving them. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? You know, it's like, I don't get it, dude. Like, I just don't get I don't get the mindset behind some of this stuff, man, where it's like, I guess Insomniac are just a bunch of egregious liars that just want to mislead me, man. And I thought that they were good guys. I thought that they were the good guys. Oh, man. Carlos, you're saying, I hope you keep that same energy next time some random dev says Xbox is not that impressive. Dude, I hate to break it to you, Carlos, but I've seen multiple things said about Xbox, specifically the Xbox Series S. I could look it up right now, bro. I've came across like 3 or 4 separate articles over the past 6 months where developers are literally shitting on the Xbox Series S. And you know why I didn't talk about it? Because it doesn't matter. The console's out. It's a thing. Doesn't matter whether we think it's a bad console, a good console. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Okay? And that's the point, man. Like, people always get like this. We're like, well, keep that same energy. Like, what? Dude, the only negative things I've said about Xbox recently are, it pertains to Halo, because these are like real issues. I'm not okay, Insomniac, maybe, did they mislead me about, what is Ratchet and Clank? Ratchet and Clank only possible on PS5. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that nearly as much as I would be worried if Sony came out here and said, yeah, we got to cut a couple of these features. This is what I'm saying. It's like, dude, it's not about keeping the same energy, because the energy is the same. It's about just like, I didn't even want to talk about this. Just like I didn't talk about those articles where developers were shitting on the Xbox Series S, right? Because who cares? We get it. Some developers like it, some don't. That's nothing new. I also didn't want to cover this because I'm like, who fucking cares, man? Like, some of this stuff, it gets so blown out of proportion. Like, this is just one developer with one opinion. And that's that. Just like there's another developer out there who thinks the PS5 is awesome and the Series S blows. Just one developer with one opinion. It's not that serious, you know? JDTV, you're saying, I know something next gen that would be able to run on the PS3, the abandoned real-time experience. Yeah, but yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't know, man. Could it though? Is that really? Somebody told me that that's actually really in Unreal Engine 5. So I'm actually not sure if that's true. Now, it probably could. I don't know. Let me see. iSalary18, you're saying your thoughts on Psychonauts being propped up as an amazing Xbox exclusive. Yes, yet it's literally coming to PS5, and now Metacritic suddenly matters. Dude, that's the thing, man. Is like, I understand that I'm viewed as like a fanboy shill that always just wants to be aggressive and egregious towards Xbox and Xbox fans. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't really care that much anymore in that way. Like, I know that I used to partake in like the whole console war thing, and I feel like it was just super easy to get caught up into, like kind of with the buildup of the new consoles. But the truth is, man, like, I just don't care about Psychonauts 2. Like, and it's nothing against the game, man. Like, I didn't play the first one. I just have no interest in the sequel. I don't even know what the Metacritic score is. I didn't even know that it was coming to PlayStation. So it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, if Xbox guys are like, this is the greatest game ever, I'm like, okay. Like, I guess you're right. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just, I can't anymore with these dudes, man. I just can't keep up. I'm tired. You're saying it's an 87? That's good. That's pretty good, man. I've always maintained the same energy when it comes to Metacritic scores, which is, hey, it's a good way to get a general idea of how the critics, if you care about the critics at all, feel about the game. It's a good, just basic, quick, like super easy, like, you know, if I see a game with a Metacritic score of 35 versus seeing a game with a Metacritic score of 85, yeah, I'm going to assume that the game with a Metacritic score of 35 isn't going to be that good. That, you know, but you can't make it the be all end all, you know, like you got to look into it for yourself. And my recommendation to anybody out there has always been the same thing. If you see a game with a Metacritic score that makes you feel, that's not as high as I wanted it to be, but you're still interested in the game and you like what you're seeing, then just play the game. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Just play the game for yourself, man. You know, and there's probably, I guarantee there's somebody out there playing Psychonauts 2, and they're like, this game has an 87 on Metacritic. This game sucks. And there's somebody out there probably playing it, and they're like, this game has an 87 on Metacritic. This game should have a 95. This game's amazing. One of the best games I ever played. Again, like, people, this is why I don't like the console war bullshit, man. I don't, because it's like, I like it for the sake of competition, but it in my years of covering PlayStation and also talking about Xbox and covering Xbox way in the past, I noticed that it becomes way too easy for people to just go off the deep end and start throwing, you know, virtual stones at each other, you know, and using things like Metacritic scores. And, you know, like, my whole thing, I was brutal on Xbox towards the end of the Xbox One generation, because my whole thing was like, Xbox, you're getting your teeth absolutely kicked in by Sony with the quality of their games. Like, step it up. This is pathetic. Like, do better, because you can. God knows you have the funds. Make it happen. You know, get your ass in gear. And this generation, it's like, hey, you're doing something now, Microsoft. Let's keep it going. Let's see how it turns out. You know what I mean? But with PlayStation, it's like suddenly people want to act like everything PlayStation's doing is horrible. I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to. No, because I've maintained, believe it or not, the same energy that I've always had on this channel, which is it's about the damn games. It's about the games. And that's why I'm not sitting here being like, oh, Psychonauts 2, just because it doesn't appeal to me and it's not a game that I'm looking forward to and it's on Xbox or it's made by an Xbox-owned studio, it must suck. Like, no, it's probably good, you know? People seem to be enjoying it. Saying such negativity, MBG. It's not that I'm trying to be negative. I'm just trying to acknowledge the stuff that I see all the time where it's like, I'm not trying to be like a console war channel, you know? And I know that there was a time and place for it, but it's like, I feel like I've grown past that and out of that, where it's like, yeah, you know, with the buildup of the PS5 and the Series X, it was fun to kind of like throw some jabs and which console's going to have the advantage. And it's all in good fun in certain moments, but it's like at this point, you know, it's not that serious. You know, it's really not. It never really was, but at this point in time, I think people are just enjoying their consoles and we're just waiting to see. We're just waiting to see like what's the next gen really going to look like, because I feel like we have a small glimpse right now. You know, we see the games that are stacked up for Xbox. It's like we have all these games that are coming. Look forward to it. You know what I mean? And then we see Sony, and it's like they're still maintaining their quality bar. They've been releasing some solid titles, and we know that they have a bunch of other stuff coming. It's like, I think that's all it is at this point. You know, like this game has a higher pixel count. This game has slightly better ray trace reflections. Like, I don't know, man. I guess in certain moments you get caught up in that stuff, but now that I've been playing my console for like, the past 8-9 months, whatever, that stuff hasn't really mattered as much. You know, I've just been enjoying games. So I don't know. I'm not trying to. It's like when I talk about Halo here on the channel. I'm not a Halo fan. D-Dog, he's saying, I hope you keep the same energy when Phil Spencer offers to buy the podcast, offer incoming. Bro, yeah, I'm going to come on here just like, I'm going to have an Xbox light back here. I'm going to have an Xbox hat on. I'm going to have a Halo banner. I'll be like, all right, guys, welcome to Press Xbox Podcast. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I like to think I wouldn't sell out that easily, you know? I would like to think I wouldn't sell out that easily. Yeah, Press Y Podcast. I just, honestly, man, like, I like to have nuanced conversations about gaming and stuff, but I don't know, man. There's just some conversations that people have where I'm like, I can't get into it, you know? I can't get into it. I'm not digging it. MVG is low-key a Halo fan. But yeah, like the reason why I talk about Halo is because to me, even though I don't plan to play Halo, I do find it interesting. Just everything surrounding it, because it's like this is a major franchise. Like this is the pillar franchise of, Microsoft and Xbox, and I'm just fascinated to see like how it turns out. You know, what are people saying? How do they feel about it? So, yeah. All right, my cat's showing up again. She's here to destroy the podcast as usual. Do something. How you gonna hop up on my lap? All right. Anyway, with that being said, I want to move on to another topic, which is Halo. Actually, I want to talk. I'm not going to talk about this long, but I want to talk about what's going on with the campaign, because people are getting a little bit worried at the fact that we haven't seen campaign. And I'm reading from WCCF Tech, and it says Halo Infinite is shipping on December 8th, as announced during the Gamescom 2021 opening night live showcase. However, fans didn't really get to see any new gameplay footage, which was disappointing to some. Joseph Staten, head of creative for Halo Infinite, explained why. As I mentioned in last week's development update, the whole Halo Infinite team is in shutdown mode. This means we're done with feature work and focused on crushing high priority bugs. We're spending lots of time playing the game, verifying fixes, and generally doing all we can do to ensure campaign and multiplayer plays great on all platforms. From an original 8-year-old Xbox One to a brand new ultra-spec PC, this is a very challenging task, even for a large, experienced team. So I want to highlight this real quick. See, this is the thing too. I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why they're cutting these features at launch and they're going to have to come later is because of this right here, where they're making it known and they're not hiding it, which is good. They're saying it's really, really difficult, even for a big experienced team, to, optimize this game for all these different platforms. This is why when I've talked about the advantage of having exclusives, even, the idea of Sony having to develop for the PS4 and the PS5, it would truly just be better for us, for people who want to buy PS5s and play on PS5s, to just have those games. Developers only worry about getting these games ready to go for just one console. That is definitely one advantage of having true exclusives. So, I just want to point that out. That's one of the reasons apparently they're, I don't know, or one of the main focuses and one of the challenges. He goes on to say, in many ways, shutting down a game is like being on final approach to landing an airplane And if you'll forgive a bit of aviation geekery, the entirety of the team is essentially in a sterile cockpit, which is to say, we're at a critical phase in the flight that is Halo Infinite. So it's extremely important to avoid distractions and stay focused on mission critical tasks only. For campaign, that means putting maximum effort into ensuring the wide open adventure filled experience you'll all get to play on December 8th is um, you'll all get to play on December 8th is a great as it can possibly be. I think that's spelled wrong or typed up wrong. And gameplay demos and trailers not only take a huge amount of effort to do well, they also take cycles away from bugs and other shutdown tasks. So I do want to say, I feel like one of the best things that Microsoft did was bring in Joseph Staten, because I'll tell you, the way this guy's talking, he sounds like the guy that you want to bring in to clean up your game and get it shippable, because the way he's talking right now, he's like, even though that he'll make the tough calls, man. And I gotta say, I do respect that and I do appreciate that. Where it's like, so Microsoft is saying we're not going to delay the game. We want it out holiday. We got to cut these features. We're doing it. We don't care. It's got to be done. I respect that, man. You know, because I gotta say, like, even though it's unfortunate, I appreciate they're just doing what needs to be done. I feel like this is something we see with like um Cyberpunk 2077, where it's like these are guys who are over promising and under delivering, where it's like the game wasn't anywhere near ready. And it's like things need to be cut. And they're like, no, we're not going to cut it. We're still going to do it. We can do it. We can do it. And it's like the game's out. And it's like, we can do it. You know what I mean? It's like you need people sometimes to come in and just clean up the mess. You know what I mean? And that's why I like the way Joseph's talking here. He sounds like the dude that was hired. It's like, Joseph, please, Mr. Staten, get this game in working shape. You know, get it where it needs to be, man, please. Server error. You're saying review bombs were from Russians for not having Russian in the game. Xbots are giving the game 10s, which is also BS. The game is a 7 at best. Well, I guess that's your review server error. You're saying it's a 7. iSalary18, you're saying Joseph came in too late, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's clear that he came in, he inherited a big mess at 343 Industries. And so I will say, dude, I'm going to say, like, considering how rough the development cycle of this game has been, if they can release a solid campaign that people are okay with and a solid multiplayer, you know, sure, you know, that's fine. He continues by saying here, I would like to share, however, that right before I left for Los Angeles, I had to pause a full playthrough of campaign that I started last week. I'm going for a 100% run, which means completing all primary and secondary missions, finding all collectibles, etc. I played Infinite's campaign multiple times, but every time I do, I always find something new tucked away on Zeta Halo. Sometimes these are quiet little bits of environmental storytelling, such as an abandoned but desperately defended Marine recon post high on a lonely mountainside. Fortunately, the banishment. So he's just talking about his experience with the campaign. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys right now. It's not looking great for Halo Infinite's campaign. I only say that because, just objectively speaking, and I would be saying the same thing if this was Sony, and I hope Sony doesn't have any situation like this. You know, I could be completely wrong. Halo's campaign could end up being great, but it's just not a good look, man. When you're this close to launch and you haven't shown pretty much anything of it, it doesn't show a sign of confidence. It actually shows the exact opposite. It shows that you're not confident in it. Or I also want to make it known it might have nothing to do with the state of it in terms of like their confidence level in it. It might just literally be that actually our campaign's really good. It's just not in a showable state. But to me, that's also disturbing because it's like, this game's launching in a couple months. Surely you can show something of this campaign. Surely you can. And I think they're afraid. I think after the showcase that they put out there in July of 2020, I think they're afraid to actually come out here and show off more campaign. And I think that they're going to wait till like the last moment. You're saying they've shown images. I don't know. I mean, you're saying again, they have shown the same amount of campaign that they have always shown with Halo games. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Blood of Heroes, because I could be wrong. Like I'm not familiar with the lead up to Halo games. I guess I don't know. I just view things differently. Like I just feel like the focus has been solely on like multiplayer, and I don't know. Maybe there's a reason. I guess maybe Microsoft also kind of wants to focus on the multiplayer more because it's going to be a free to play game, and I think that's where Microsoft's planning to make most of their money. So I don't know. It is what it is. For those who are worrying about Halo Infinite's campaign, if you are worried, Joseph Staten is saying, look, we're in a very important phase of getting everything under control and wrapped up and squashing all the bugs. He's saying he's playing through it. He's talking about some of the, I will admit, he's saying the right things. He's talking about some of the things he likes about the campaign, what he's enjoying about it, which I think is a good sign. And if anything, even though they're not showing it, he sounds confident. So we'll have to see like how Halo fans end up feeling once they do see more campaign or when they finally do play it. I think something I've seen some people say is that they're like worried that the campaign is going to be ultra short, like 5 or 6 hours. We'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know, how long are Halo campaigns normally? Is that like a normal runtime for them? I feel like they should probably be like 10 to 12 hours minimum, you would think. But I'm not sure. Saying the campaign is different than previous mainly because it's more open world. Yeah. Saying 15 hours, 8 to 9 hours, 8 to 10. So I guess like 6 to 7 hours would be a little low. I get 80 hours. What? We'll see. That's that's pretty much the latest update we have on Halo. So we're gonna, let me see. There's one other topic I want to discuss before we wrap up here. Let me see. So I'm running out of time here. I wanted to talk about Elden Ring, so maybe we'll talk about that later. But I actually want to talk about this because to me this is more interesting. Did you guys see the Saints Row Backlash? Because I got to check here. Some interesting stuff happening with that. I feel like this Saints Row Backlash highlights something really important that we need to discuss. Give me just a second to find it because I want to check the like to dislike ratio. It was not looking good, man. It was not looking good. Hipster Simulator. Oh, right. Sorry, it's not Saints Row. Okay, here's the announced trailer. Ouch. Okay, so I'm looking at the announced trailer, and this was shown off. It was like the first thing shown off during Gamescom. Look, I have to talk about something here that I think I haven't seen many people talk about, but I think it's important. So the announced trailer is sitting at 366,500 views, 14,000 likes, 13,000 dislikes. So it's pretty much split up the middle, pretty much. And people were like, what is this? Now, this kind of forced the Saints Row developer to come out here and immediately show gameplay because they're like, uh-oh, people are not happy. Maybe if we show some gameplay, it'll turn it around. And I'm looking at it on PlayStation's YouTube channel, 150,000 views for the welcome to whatever their, place is called. 4.7K likes, 4.3K dislikes. So it's, again, kind of split up the middle. And what's weird is like, I'm not a Saints Row fan. I'm not a Saints Row fan because I almost read that it's woke MBG, woke row. I almost read that at the Saints woke. Yeah. I saw Larry 18. You're saying The Last of Us 2 multiplayer sounds far away based off the fact that they're still hiring. Could we be waiting for a while? We could be. Yeah. I speculated in my video yesterday that I think it might be they're looking to hire more people to maintain the game since it's a service game. You know what I mean? So it might be closer to release than we think, but they need to hire a bunch of new people on because the main core team that's working on The Last of Us multiplayer, when they're done and they ship it, they're going to move on to the next game. They're going to need developers there to maintain it. JDTV, you said I missed your super chat. Sorry about that, buddy. Let me Okay, sorry. There's a few super chats I missed. Sorry, guys. JDTV, you're saying, are you going to play the Battlefield 2042 beta on PS5 on Saturday? You can play on the 4th of September if you pre-ordered, otherwise the 6th. I didn't pre-order it yet. Maybe I'll pre-order it to get access to it. If I don't, though, I'll definitely play it on the 6th. So I'm 100% going to play it. I hope it's good. I'm looking forward to it. B Flesher, you're saying, MBG, you have to try Psychonauts 2. It's right up your alley, even if it doesn't seem so at first. It's 60 FPS on PS5 too. Many are putting it in Game of the Year talks. I might have to check it out, man. I've heard really good things about Psychonauts, honestly, and I guess it's just something about it doesn't really appeal to me on the surface, but I have heard good things. We'll have to see, man. I'm waist deep right now in Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, taking my good old time, enjoying that world. So if I can make time for it. Znarcan Blitzer, you're saying, MBG, should Microsoft get Bungie back for Halo? I don't think so. I think the Bungie days are over, and you just got to kind of move on. I mean, if Halo Infinite flops, I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying if it does, Microsoft needs to consider giving Halo to somebody else. They really do, in my opinion. So, yeah, and just like I said with The Last of Us multiplayer, I think that they're just bringing on people to maintain the game, because the core team will move on to full production on their next game, whatever that may be, maybe a new IP or The Last of Us 3. And when that happens, they're going to need a core team to maintain The Last of Us Online, which is what this is probably going to be. They're going to need people to make new missions, continue to update it, make new content, all that stuff. So I don't think it's indicative that the game is still far off. It could be, and it might be, but there's two different ways to look at it. So yeah, just talking about Saints Row, you know, I gotta tell you, when I saw that Saints Row trailer, as somebody that, you know, who's not a fan of Saints Row, first of all, I was interested in the fact that it was going to be shown at Gamescom because it's a reboot. And I'm like, well, maybe they're doing something different that might pique my interest. And oh my God, that trailer, dude. I just don't, yeah, it just kind of comes off as, cringe, man. Like, I'm so tired of every developer. And this is why people are like, oh, Sony's games are all the same. They're all super serious and they're dark and they're mature. And it's like, yes, please, Sony, God, keep it that way. Because God knows there are just so many developers that are like, let's make it silly and comical and over the top, just like Fortnite. And it's like, I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous because Saints Row is known to be over the top and silly, but it's almost like they took this weird approach where they're like, we're actually going to tone it down. And it's like, rather than making it even sillier and crazier, we're just going to make it cringe. You know what I mean? It's like they turned up the cringe dial and they lowered like the absurdity, you know, because that's what Saints Row was. It was like, how absurd can we make it? And I feel like I'm not a Saints Row fan, but from what I could tell, that's what people kind of liked about it, where it's like, this is just so ridiculously absurd that it's what makes it good. And it's like with this game, they're like, we're going to keep it kind of absurd, but we're going to add in a whole lot of cringe and make it just kind of look like Fortnite and Watch Dogs. And it's like, I don't know, man. I was going to say that, like, hey, this is a perfect example. When I was originally going to be talking about the Saints Row reboot, I was going to say, Spider-Man, you're saying that line, get away from my friends, in Saints Row, vomit emoji. Dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. It's like, somebody's got to listen to that back before this trailer comes out and realize let's cut that. Let's not use that. That's too cringy, you know? And it is. And that's the problem, man, is that, like, we're not looking for ultra seriousness with Saints Row, but we're not looking for this either, you know? Even as somebody where it's like, I have an idea of what Saints Row is. I always thought it was kind of funny from what I've seen of it. And I was definitely interested to be like, okay, they're going to reboot it. Maybe this will pique my interest this time, you know? And it's just like, Wow, they literally did the literal opposite. Now, here's what I want to tell you guys, because I have this article up from IGN. Saints Row developer, quote, not backing down, unquote, after reboot backlash. So, Saints Row developer Volition has stated that it's not backing down from this game after a portion of the series' fanbase expressed disappointment with the direction of the newly announced reboot. The official Saints Row Twitter account has been responding to numerous critical messages since the reveal of the reboot at Gamescom. And so they replied to a user who said that they felt like I wasted my time defending you guys. The official account said, "We are not backing down on this game. We get it. It's new and it's a shock reaction to a reboot like no other." And so somebody else says, here's another interesting tweet that they responded to. Somebody says, "If anything, I'm not a hater. I've been defending you guys." I don't know if this is the same tweet or not, but I'll give you the full context. "I've been defending you guys since people called you a GTA clone, which wasn't true at all. Now I feel like I wasted my time defending you guys. As the boss once said, the Saints used to mean something. Only MF that seemed to remember that is me and Gat." And then this is a full tweet response from Saints Row's Twitter. They said, "We are not backing down on this game. We get it. It's new and it's a shock reaction to reboot like no other." The GIF was supposed to convey that. It's like, look, here's another one. Okay? I'll read it to you. Somebody on Twitter says, "Normally reboots share something similar to their original games. Why make a reboot when the game is nothing like Saints Row? It makes no sense. Just call it something else. They did it to just hype up clingy fans and make more money. They're fooling people into thinking it's Saints Row." And they put a poop emoji and a trash can. And then Saints Row's Twitter responded. They said, "Doing a reboot like no one has ever done a reboot before. Pretty Saints Row, if you ask us." And it's like, I look, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not a fan of telling artists, okay, and people with creative visions what they should or shouldn't do in their art. That's their choice. But I feel that this last tweet is possibly the most important, where it's like, you are taking something that has already been established, that already has a fan base, that already has something that there's an expectation. And so if your idea is like, you want to do things the way you want to do it, then that's fine, but make it original. I agree, don't take the name and slap it on there. You know what I mean? I just think that that's so disrespectful. That's as disrespectful as somebody telling an artist what they should or shouldn't do. Now, here's the thing. They're saying that they're not backing down, and I think that that's fine, but it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to end well. I don't think it's going to end well for them. This is very much a moment of people are going to speak with their wallets. They showed off some gameplay, and it seemed like maybe people were going to calm down. And that's where it's sad, because it's like, I genuinely feel that this is a perfect example of, you need to let your game do the talking for you. So let's say that the first time they show, Harry, you're saying God of War was the same and it was amazing MBG. Nah, dude, it's not. It's different though, man. Like, God of War, God of War came off the opposite as cringe. I think that people were shocked when they saw God of War, but like in a good way, where they're like, I never, ever imagined God of War being like this. And holy crap, I'm glad it is. There were always those people with God of War that were like, this isn't Kratos, this isn't the God of War I love. But I think everybody, even if you're not a fan of the new God of War, you can at least universally agree that, like, there was a lot of things done with the God of War 2018 game that it's like, it's technically a sequel. It's like a very soft reboot, but it's just a great game, like, on its own. And it's still very much God of War, though. Like, I can't agree with that. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that, man. I feel like you're comparing like apples to oranges, because this Saints Row thing, it's like, if you go to God of War 2018, you're gonna get that God of War experience. You're gonna get it in a different way. You know, it's gonna be presented to you in a different way that past God of War games weren't. But I feel like when you look at this Saints Row game, it's like this. it just looks like it's trying to be something it's not. And I don't know. Harry Johnson, you're saying, but the gameplay was different. No, I know. I'm not saying the gameplay wasn't different, but I'm just saying, hear me out on this for a second, okay? Also, I do want to say that I feel like the fact that they showed a massive gameplay chunk of God of War when it was first revealed, I feel like that helped the game. I feel like that helped even people who were maybe a little bit nervous about what direction God of War may be going in. Showing that raw gameplay moment to moment, like 10 to 15 minutes straight. I think a lot of people, like, I don't know, man. I feel like very few people walked away from that and was like, yeah, that didn't look good. I feel like people are like, oh my God, this looks incredible. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like, imagine if the first time they show Saints Row reboot for the first time, instead of showing a cringy CGI trailer, right, they just show 5 minutes of raw gameplay. Now, I'm not saying that would have won everybody over, because from the gameplay I can see it still looks pretty, I don't know. It still looks, it reminds, you know what? It gives me flashbacks, man. It reminds me a little bit of Crackdown 3. I'm going to be totally honest. From the gameplay I saw, it's reminding me of Crackdown 3. You're saying just give it a chance and try it out first. I'm not saying don't. Keep in mind, I'm a believer and I will always advocate for, if you see a game, do not listen to anyone. Don't go to the internet. Don't look at likes to dislikes. Don't look at comments. Look at what the developers and the creators are showing you. And if it appeals to you and it's something you want to play, go for it. But for me, I honestly, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't feeling it very much. They showed a little snippet of gameplay. I'm like, oh, maybe it could be good. And then I was surprised. I was actually surprised to see how much backlash it was getting. And I was like, oh man, like, this isn't looking good. Don't listen to anyone except MBG. No, I mean, you can listen to me, but you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to feel the same way I do, you know? That's why I'm saying, like, if you're somebody who, you're saying sorry, but your take on Saints Row just isn't very accurate, I'll wait for you to talk on a game that you know about. Well, okay, Blood of Heroes, honestly, I'm open to you. Please let me know, like, in your opinion, I'm assuming you're a Saints Row fan. Like, you know, what is your take on it? I'm just curious, because I could be off the mark. You know, I could definitely be off the mark. I'm not somebody who's played a lot of Saints Row, so I can't sit here and act like I know. I'm a Saints Row expert. I'm not. But I just feel like, if anything, what I'm taking away from this is I can't help but feel that the response to Saints Row reboot would have just been potentially more positive if, instead of showing a CGI trailer with some cringy dialogue, honestly, just show 5 minutes of raw gameplay, or like 3 minutes of raw gameplay, and let it speak for itself. And I feel like it still would have got some backlash, obviously, but I don't know. If I just feel like if you do that, you know, and you show people like what your moment to moment gameplay is going to be like, people might, I don't know. I just feel like more people probably would be like, oh, that actually doesn't look that bad. The gameplay looks like it could be fun, you know? That's all. I just feel like that maybe would have went down better than showing a CGI trailer. I feel like the only time CGI trailers work is if people know what the gameplay is like. You know what I mean? Like, if people know, like, so it's like God of War reboot, not God of War 2018. It wasn't even a reboot. Then, you know, God of War Ragnarok. It's like, if the first thing we see of it is a small CGI trailer, I hope it's not. I want to see some gameplay. But if it is, I'm not, you know, people are going to be okay with that, because it's like, you know what the gameplay is going to be like. Like, you already know. You don't know every little detail. You don't know all the new additions, you know, but you have a really good sense of like, okay, I know what God of War's gameplay is going to be like based off of the 2018 game, you know, because this is a sequel to it. But I feel like if you're talking about a reboot, you're talking about a new game, entirely a new IP, I feel like it's imperative. Like, you have to show some gameplay and give people just an idea, because if you just show a CGI trailer, you basically allow people to create their own game in their mind, and it's risky, because it might not line up at all with what that game's actually going to be. So, yeah, it's just my take on it. I thought it was a really interesting situation, and we'll have to see what happens. Harry, again, thank you for the super chats, buddy. You're saying people said the same thing about Ghost of Tsushima and it turned out amazing. People need to relax and stop being negative about everything. You know, I will say that here's what I'll say. For anybody who's really upset about Saints Row reboot, and for anybody who's feeling like, man, I do not like this, I'm very upset about it, I'm disappointed. The devs made it clear, like, you guys who don't like it, you gave your feedback, you hit the dislike button. My recommendation is, now that the devs have responded and they've straight up said that we're not backing down on this game, they're making it clear that we're not listening to that. They're going to this is the game that they made, and they're sticking with it. I would honestly recommend that if you're seriously not into it, just walk away from it. You know what I mean? Like, you made it clear it's just not your thing. Then, just speak with your wallet. Don't buy the game. Don't support it. And that's why I feel like for those like Harry, like you, and others, because you're not the only one, Harry, you're not the only one that feels this way. If you're interested in it and you think maybe it'll be good, I'll give it a chance, and just go ahead. Like I said, go with your gut, go with your instinct, go with your heart, I guess, your gaming heart, whatever floats your boat, whatever feels right, do it. And that's why I'm saying, like, there's nothing wrong with giving feedback. I think you have to understand that it's not so much about making everything overly negative or trying. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, Harry, and I feel like this is an important thing to kind of end the podcast on an important note. The problem with, I feel like, our society today and just the way we can communicate with each other, how everybody is online and anybody can say anything behind an alias, and a profile picture and name. I feel like the problem is, ever since this happened, it has completely removed nuance when it comes to conversations about anything. So what I mean by this is, you could have 10 people, you could have 20 people, 10 on each side, 10 people that are like, you know what? I absolutely love what this new Saints Row is doing, and I have some sound reasons as to why, and I'm going to explain those reasons to you. And then you can have 10 people on the other side where it's like, I can't stand what they're doing with the new Saints Row, and I think it's actually really terrible, and I feel as though I have some really good reasons, and I would like to explain to you why. And then the problem is, you have 10 people on each side, you have 100 more people that are just completely overshadowing any of that nuance, any of that decent conversation. They're just making jokes, and the people who do like the game are getting offended, so they're defending the game. And this is what you see back and forth on the internet in today's day and age, where there's no room. It's like it reminds me of The Last of Us 2, where there are some genuinely good things about The Last of Us 2. There are some genuinely not so good things and criticisms about The Last of Us 2. And we were never able to have like a real conversation about, well, what are the good things about it? Like, honestly, genuinely, let's hear what those are from the people who like it and really love it, genuinely. And then what about the people who really didn't like it and had problems with it? Let's hear from them what the problem was for them and the criticisms they had. But instead, it just became a shouting match. It's, oh, well, this game sucks, they ruined it, and then you have on the other side, it's like everybody's like, oh man, you can't say that. This is the greatest game ever made. We're going to fight now and we're going to clash. And it's like, okay, like the time, any room there may have been for some decent conversation has been completely removed, So I just wanted to have this conversation. I wasn't expecting Saints Row to lead into such a deep conversation, but it's honestly important, I feel, for for people to know about this, because it's like, you see it all the time. You see it all the time. It's like when I talk about on Twitter, Twitter, yeah, real life. Twitter's real life, all right. It's like when I talk about the whole PlayStation 5 thing and how I really like it. I don't think it's a big deal at all with what Sony's doing. And like, I literally just get responses from people where it's like, the PS5 is an absolute disaster. It's like, sometimes I think about responding to that, but I'm like, there's nothing to respond to. Like, this person is like, they're like 100% like the PS5 is a piece of garbage, and all they want to do is just tell me why that it's a piece of garbage and troll. You know what I mean? It's like there's no room for, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, but hopefully that's something we can continue to do here on the channel. I would like to try to grow the channel in a way where we can have some more nuanced conversations. Like we can hear different sides. It doesn't have to be one-sided, you know what I mean? And it's like we can maybe not troll and not deal with trolls as much, you know? So you're saying I'm dancing. Well, I don't know if you're talking to me or not. You're saying I'm dancing around the topic. I don't think so, man. I think I said pretty much everything I need to say about I don't know about any of these topics. MBG, do you think Kojima should make a new IP instead of Death Stranding 2? I would prefer that. As somebody who platinumed Death Stranding and loved it, I thought it was a great game, very unique. Certainly some surprises. I would prefer a new IP just because, as I said, like, I want to see Kojima make a horror game. I really do. So, MBG, you're on point with that. Internet discourse is not a thing. The honest discussions get lost in the insanity. Yeah, exactly. Well put, man. Well put, Mark Brown. I feel that way frequently. Honestly, I've been feeling that way a lot more, where I've honestly just kind of given up on trying to have genuine, honest conversations on the internet with, like, specifically like responding to people through like messages and stuff and responses, because it just, I don't know. It feels like it's just difficult to have a decent conversation anymore, you know? So, but hopefully that'll change, you know? It's kind of like, so yeah, you know, just one last thing I'll say here is it kind of brings me to the conversations we've been having for, did I just say having? Dude, I feel like I've been talking way too long, dude. It brings me to the conversations we've been having about whether or not Sony's being too quiet and whether or not they should have an event. There's actually a lot of toxic conversation that happens back and forth with PlayStation fans, where it's like people are like, shut up, Sony doesn't have to do anything, Sony's God, Sony's perfect, they'll do it when they want. And then there's other people who are like, Sony absolutely sucks, they're completely destroying their fan base and they're ignoring their fan base. And I'm like, it's not either of those things, guys. Like it's really just not. There is a more nuanced conversation to be had here, a more intricate, you know, decent conversation where we analyze different reasonings, you know, and different things that make more sense. You know what I mean? So anyway, guys, I definitely wasn't expecting to be going on for this long during the podcast, but that's pretty much going to do it, guys. That's episode 73 in the books. I want you guys to do me a big favor before you leave. We were able to cross the 500 likes mark. I have 42 dislikes on this podcast for some reason. I don't know why. I guess some people just really don't like what I have to say, but that's fine. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button if you would be so kind to do that on your way out. It helps. It would be great if we could get to 600 likes. That would be fantastic. But nonetheless, I do appreciate all of the support. I know it's been very quiet. This is like probably one of the quietest weeks in a long time, and it's like we are in the dog days of summer right now. So, I've been trying my best to keep the content coming and find things to talk about without being too redundant about it. And so, yeah, I just have to say I appreciate you guys consistently showing up and consistently showing your support. I always say it, and it's worth reiterating. You guys literally fuel the channel and you fuel the content. And so a big shout out to all of my members. As I said, shout out to Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps every week. I really appreciate it. You do a great job with them, man. And shout out to everybody who donated a super chat to help, support the channel. So, all right, guys, we will be back here next Sunday. Let me see what is next Sunday. That is The 5th? Wow, really? Okay, well, we'll be back here September 5th. Episode 74 of the podcast. We're going to see what happens over, I guess, the course of the first week of September. We'll see what this upcoming week brings. One last note I'll say here is I think that I speak for a pretty good portion of PlayStation fans when I say that I think PlayStation fans in particular, I think we're expecting Sony to do something in September, even if it's just a smaller state of play. I think September feels like a good time for Sony to maybe give us a little something. And I also say that because Sony did say themselves that they're going to have more breaking news before the end of the summer. I think summer ends on September 22nd. So we'll have to see. All right, guys, that does it. I will catch you all next week, September 5th, for episode 74 of the podcast. But until next time, guys, take care.